All right. We are back for another World Series of Poker final table. It is the $2,500 double stack. This field was about 1,000 players. First place is about $400,000. Not anything to cry about. Currently, the payout is $22,000, so we got a lot of money left to win with 12 players remaining. Jonathan, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm feeling good. We got a lot of money to win. Some really big names were in this event until very recently, but no longer. They've been taken out by this ragtag team of misfits and underdogs.
Oh,
That's not entirely
Brazilians,
true.
it seems like.
Yeah.
Ragtag team of Brazilians.
Yeah,
As you
really.
can see on the left there, the top three stacks are all Brazilian, including a 160 blind stack. What a feeling in a World Series of Poker event with 12 left to have 160 bigs. It's pretty sweet.
It's Mr. Sweet's 29. He's at our table. Also at our table is Serenity. You can see him right there with the sort of golden Buddha thing going on there.
Yeah, Serenity.
Serenity does have a bracelet already. I don't think it's in this. I don't know where the bracelet's from, but it's a World Series of Poker bracelet. So Serenity does have experience. Has won big money before. Has been in this spot. Is a bit short, so that could be problematic. But Serenity might be a little less cowed potentially by the moment than potentially some of the other players. We're going to see how everyone plays, but this table's interesting anyway. Grant, you got Mr. Sweet with all the chips, and everybody else is pretty short. I mean, really pretty darn short here, right? Withered is the next one up with like 23 blinds. Like all the big stacks are at the other table, except for the dominating stack of Mr. Sweet's 29.
I would expect Mr. Sweets to put the pressure on as soon as this break ends, considering that situation. It seems like a really good situation to be putting the pressure on.
Yeah. There is no immediate money bubble. There's 3 places before the money jumps at all. But still, World Series of Poker, 400K for first. There's a nice opportunity to put pressure on.
Well, it's not going to work this hand if Mr. Sweets decides to. And luckily for Mr. Sweets, did not, because Nan Kutif has kings.
Yeah, Jen Bang Lee looks like probably going to just throw his body against the brick wall of Nantuqueef's kings.
It's one of the worst hands to have Queen Jack of Diamonds against, too, with it blocking the straight outs and the diamonds.
Yep. There's the shove.
Pretty standard stuff.
Yeah, seems hard to imagine that. Well, I mean, there are ways to win, of course. They're just not that many.
Or Nan Kutif could fold, which I would deem unlikely. Serenity going to have a little think there. Just one time. You're going to be happy with what you see.
Yeah. Nan QTF is what I'm going to call him. It's a little bit cleaner.
Well, there's
we need
a
lot
9,
of help right now.
A 9 and a diamond. Ooh, a 10 will do it. Just a 10, though.
This would be pretty great.
It's not a 10.
It's paint.
Clearly paint.
And, Mr. Sweet's kind of taunting the short stacks.
First hand, first elimination. Let's see if we can keep the ball rolling. This is going to be over in 12 hands. We can do it.
Well, Serenity lined up to potentially get a double through Mr. Sweets this hand.
Seems likely.
Ramazama makes the fold here.
Blinds did just go up, too, to 160K.
Yeah.
So Mr. Sweet's
really
even more likely to call.
Yeah. If I was Mr. Sweets, I'd probably think if anyone shoves, I'm calling. It doesn't matter who it is, except for Withered. But like any of the other 3 guys, I'm just going to call their shove with ace-8. It's good enough. They're short enough.
Serenity does not use the full-time bank, which we've seen some players employ, but it's not an immediate bubble, so maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Do get the call out of Mr. Sweets. Very normal call.
Opportunities emerge, Grant.
Well,
get a big card now, or an 8. No, an 8 doesn't help. Just a big card or a 10. Oh, a big card for the chop.
Yeah. Oops.
Well,
Mr. Sweets.
Got to be rough.
Mr. Sweets is running hot, according to that emoji.
Such a big moment for Serenity to not get the full double and instead, free rolling on the turn there too. Once the 10 pairs and still, or I guess once the ace comes, I should say.
Yeah, the ace.
10s, queens, or kings. That's it for the chop. Everything else is a win. But
this is a relatively close spot for Rambazamba. I think ICM is what made Rambazamba consider the fold, with 4 players to act behind.
Yeah. So this is one of the biggest. This may be the biggest buy-in we've done so far. I think.
The one that Kristen McNell won that we did was a $2,500 buy-in. It was a 6 max.
Also 25?
Yeah, it was.
We're, of course, all leading up for all you folks who are watching. We're leading all the way up to the $10,000 buy-in final event of the World Series, which we will also be doing. That'll be fun. Mr. Sweets, here's a great example of Mr. Sweets just using the chip stack.
Yeah, and what can you do as Withered? I mean, this is not like Snap Shove doesn't like that shove, but it's still in this situation profitable for sure.
Yeah. You got to figure Withered's going to call less than Snap Shove would want him to or her to anyway.
Yeah.
This is just such a great spot for Mr. Sweets. You just shove and don't worry about it.
Time to do it again.
Yeah.
And this time you actually have a hand. Oh, interesting. No shove when you actually have a hand.
Yeah.
Willing to call it off.
I wonder if we're going to see more of that. Feels like pretty tell-worthy.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't do anything about it though. Like you can find out, like Mr. Sweets, if you don't have a hand, it doesn't matter if he shoves too much at you. You know, and you're like, he probably is weak.
And
but he gets a call. Surprising. Nice to see, actually. You're supposed to call with Jack 5 suited. Just no one has been for the entire World Series.
In the streams that we've been doing, it's been quite passive, especially min raises out of the big blind, not getting called with hands like Ace 4 off and stuff. It's been kind of blowing our minds, guys.
Yeah.
Mind blowing.
Frankly.
Well, that's the end of that experiment. Unless Rambazamba has nefarious intent, which is very unlikely.
Yeah. I don't see how you can call now. You call, you hope for something, and now Rambazamba is just wasting some time trying to ladder up a little bit, let other people bust on the other table. Mr. Sweet gets to win a bigger pot than he otherwise would have.
Oh, we got Ace
This
King
one will not
King
get through.
7 in the blinds. That could be a thing. Ace King's definitely going to shove. I mean, I would expect
no matter
Ace
what
King
Mr.
to
Sweets does. No matter what Mr. Sweets does, we have to believe Ace King's just putting it in.
So Mr. Sweets does have standards. I'm not entirely sure that he should, but he does.
Yeah.
Probably it's okay to fold the Queen Deuces of the world.
I think you can just get by with like opening like 55%, 60% of hands in general, and you're going to do great, Yeah. And that way you sort of avoid some stuff where like every time they have anything reasonable, they shove on you and you just feel like it sucks, It helps your image a little bit too. So if you're Serenity, I mean, I guess you have to call this, right? Less than 10 blinds. It's small to big. King 7 suited. I'm calling. What are you doing?
It's just the ICM sucks, but I understand the call. I get it. It just really doesn't feel good. And as we see, it is terrible. Although that is quite a flop. Holy cow. All right. Well,
that king does not help, though.
No help at all.
Need a spade only. Or 7, actually. Ooh. Just for a second, I thought that was the 7 of diamonds before I turned over. Before we could see it, Well, and now that's going to be at our final bracelet winner. Serenity gone.
Bye-bye. Well, now we are in the true money bubble. 22K to 31K, or more like 23K to 32K.
Still, like $8,500, a little more difference. I'm curious if people are, I'm sure some people are very aware of it and care. The fact that they put the money jump up on the screen only helps people like Mr. Sweets, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
This might just be a walk for Mr. Sweets.
Unless Ramba min opens, but you're going to expect to get shoved on so often by Mr. Sweets if you min open here.
Yeah.
Look, we got a friendly new player.
Yeah, waving hello.
There's
the walk.
Cute little panda.
Eating some sort of bamboo or asparagus or something.
I'm going to guess bamboo based on, the pandaness of it.
Well, Withered's in a great spot right here. The hands that are likely to shove, there's a bunch of them that are candidates from Razor on down.
I would be surprised if Nan Quitife did not shove.
Nan QTF. As
we're not going to have to worry about it for long. If this player makes the final table, their names will be revealed. So.
Yeah, we're one away.
Yeah.
That's true. Well, if Nan just a min raise. So will Mr. Sweets put in the 3-bet with Jack 10? Very reasonable.
I expect Mr. Sweets has a lot of shoves here. A lot. Which is a problem for this. It's a problem for this min raise because you can't really call off ace 6, can you? I guess you can, but it's just so high variance versus taking the blinds by shoving, which of course would not have worked against the queens. But I much prefer that plan.
My guess is Nan QTF is just going to min raise their entire opening range here. Must be the thought, right? So that way we're trying to protect when they have kings and aces by having this min raise with weaker hands too, with blockers. I don't know if it's I don't know if you need to be so balanced, especially when we're about to go to one table really soon, and we're going to be 9-handed anyway, and you're going to move. Mr. Sweets isn't going to be on your left and all that stuff. I don't know if you need to do any of that, but it may save Nan actually, since we know Withered wasn't going to fold to a shove.
I wonder what's going on here. Why is Mr. Sweets taking so long?
I don't know. He's trying to decide if he can actually get what this min raise means.
Folds and is sitting
timed out. What a lucky break for Mr. Sweets. If it was me, I'd be all in, and Withered would be snapping me off, and I'd be in huge trouble to lose 2.2 million. I guess that isn't that big a deal really for Sweets anyway. Now, what is Withered doing? Withered is trying to let someone else bust.
It's possible that there is some sort of weird software thing going on with the site because Rambazamba. Oh no, there's the shove. Okay, yeah. But Rambazamba kept doing the hello thing over and over and over again. I was wondering if that was some sort of glitch. I don't know what happened with
Rambazamba's
Mr. Sweets there though. That was weird. Mr. Sweets is still sitting out.
Oh, got back just in time for the Ace King though. I thought we were about to. Mr. Sweets was going to get Ace King folded when Rambazamba has King Queen suited in the big blind. Mr. Sweets, you don't know how lucky you were.
Maybe there was some sort of disconnection, but it didn't say Mr. Sweets was disconnected.
Yeah.
Anyway, probably about to bust Rambazamba.
Probably. I mean, Rambazamba has what feels like a very obvious shove, assuming Wither doesn't get cute here.
Some players will flat out of the big blind with this stack depth with King Queen suited, and it's not.
It's reasonable.
It's not absurd.
Totally reasonable. And actually, Mr. Sweets with the min raise, we know Rambazamba may not know. We know that means Mr. Sweets has a pretty good hand that is willing to call a shove with, right? Because the shove was like the bad hand, and the min raise was the good hand.
Yeah.
As Rambazamba has not picked up on that though. Maybe Rambazamba has no data though for that. In fairness.
Well, maybe Mr. Sweets will disconnect again or whatever happened, and it'll be a glorious win. Nope, doesn't look like it.
Rough spot here for Rambazamba now. Gonna have to get lucky. And now Rambazamba is gonna take all the time.
Should use the entire.
Great idea.
Should use the entire time. Makes
if you know you're
sense.
gonna 3-bet, you should use most of your time, 3-bet most of your stack and not all of it. Let the guy put you in, and then you can take another chunk of time here to try and let the dude on the other table bust, and you can ladder up. That's
clearly a plus EV strategy, despite it being kind of like a lame plus EV strategy. It's still a good one. It makes sense.
Well, likely after this hand, we're going to be down to 9, and it won't matter anymore. None of that will matter. But Rambazamba is really wisely taking the full time here. I mean, if they're going to pay, once in a while they're going to pay you $7,700 to take an extra minute, you should do it.
All right, so let's use this time for useful things. Like, what's the best lethal weapon?
Clearly, the best lethal weapon is the original lethal weapon. I don't think it's close.
All right, here's a more debatable one. How about Die Hard? What's the best Die Hard?
I know you have your own weird thoughts about this.
It's not weird.
I think I am strongly in the right to say the original Die Hard is clearly the best Die Hard as well.
Well, it's not the original Die Hard. I'm sorry.
You think it's Die Hard 3, right?
Die Hard 3 is the best Die Hard. Somebody in the chat should probably back me up. Hey, guys, you can chat. We'll engage with you. We'll make fun of you. We'll belittle you. It'll be great for you. Yes, PepKep says best Die Hard is the third one. PepKep is correct. Thank you for being correct.
So dumb, guys.
Why would you say it's so dumb? That's like such it's such hyperbole. It's a razor's edge difference if one is better.
No, it's not. It's not.
Anyway, here we go. King high flop. Not helpful. Well, now a jack.
Or a queen. Will it be?
It is a queen.
Wow. Rambazamba gets it.
That was unexpected.
Yep. That was.
All of a sudden, Rambazamba has a workable stack.
Yep.
We can continue the debate if there's more tanks. We'll have more movie debates.
Yeah, I have more to say about it. Let me tell you. I got things to say about Die Hard 3.
Hey, it's Asan. Good to see you too, man. He's a local player where we live in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah, he's been on Poker Time, which is our 5-10 cash game that we put out every Tuesday on this channel. It's free because we love you, and also because that's how YouTube works.
If we could charge you, we would.
Reasons.
We would.
I mean,
we could actually
love to charge you.
We could figure out a way.
But come on, we're men of action. So Razor has top pair here. This feels like a check shove spot. What do you think?
I think so,
Check,
but
check.
doesn't get the opportunity. Ace queen with enough showdown value, Mr. Sweet's opinion. Doesn't feel like equity denying, I guess.
I mean, it's a pretty dry board where you definitely could bet it. And Razor going to get some value. Probably going to just bet again here, I think.
Brian Thorpe also has participated on Poker Time, I think, if that's that Brian Thorpe. And he asks, which is the third one? I think Mr. Sweets is going to fold here, but I could be wrong.
Nope.
No, just snap calls.
Takes the call.
Ooh, it's been a
Snaps.
rough couple hands for Mr. Sweets.
But still with 15 million, still I guess it's not fair to say the runaway chip leader, but 95 blinds. The number 2 guy has 78. And then everyone else, the next, Rambazamba's in third place with 37. So
yeah,
Mr. Sweet's still in great shape.
We are looking at a different landscape, though, than we would if Rambazamba hadn't hit that queen. Mr. Sweets could be just running people over constantly.
Yep. Agreed. I mean, Mr. Sweet still absolutely can be running people over, but it is harder now.
I mean, Rambazamba
well, it's not supposed to be super easy.
Rambazamba can actually cause some problems now with that stack.
Yeah, it's true. Rambazamba doubles through Mr. Sweets. Rambazamba's the chip leader. Or nearly the chip leader, at least. Actually, now would be after winning this pot. So, yeah, you're right. Still, Rambazamba also has more to lose now, you know?
Yeah.
Like, now you actually have your third in chips. You're thinking about the Mirage, man, and 3 stacks of high society. Probably more.
Anyway, the third diehard is the one with Jeremy Irons and the Riddles in New York in the summer.
Yeah, that's right. Pat Wright asks, how much does Sweets having to show the ace-king after a min-raise affect the rest of the table? I would think they should pick up on it. I agree. Now, we've only seen Mr. Sweets shove once, and that was small blind to big blind. So it's possible Mr. Sweets is employing that strategy only in a blind versus blind situation. We're going to have to wait and see. We'll know pretty soon.
He might be balanced. It's possible that it's just small to big where he's shoving like that.
Yeah. Every raise he's done, though, besides that, he's had ace-10 or better. So, and clearly looking for action.
Yeah, we'll need some more. We'll need to get some more information.
Yeah, like if it folds to him here and he shoves, I guess that won't give us any new information. But I do agree with Pat that if he starts shoving, he's probably not going to shove now because Rambazamba has too many chips to just be shoving a little bit willy-nilly. But if he starts making bigger raises or anything like that, that would be a bit of a giveaway.
Razor trying to ladder up, I guess. I mean, Razor has a stack where they don't need to be doing that, but
squeeze every penny out of it that you can, perhaps.
All right, this is a tough spot. This is that tough spot for Withered where you're really supposed to call,
you have to call.
It sucks on this money bubble. This is such a powerful play.
I know, but if you want to win the tournament, you call here.
I know, but you know it sucks.
Of course it sucks. If you have like ace-6 off, I think you could maybe talk yourself into a fold sometimes, but ace-8 suited is just way too good.
Makes the call.
Ultimate Withered agrees.
Probably should have waited more on the time bank, actually. Yeah. And that's a pretty safe flop. Feeling pretty good about it now.
Well,
now a 10 will do it.
Always a sweat. Only a 10. It's not coming.
It's
not coming. Yeah, you got to have 4 spots, not 3. And, well, Mr. Sweet's now down to 12.6 million and no longer is the runaway chip leader. Things have really changed in a hurry. Mr. Sweets was basically, we got here, Mr. Sweets was the richest of the rich and now is like no longer Jeff Bezos, just like, it's like Bill Gates and Elon Musk hanging out and he's one of those two and the other one's at the other table. Now, here's Razor effectively moving in. Employing that same strategy of putting most of the stack in so everyone knows it's a move in, but not putting all the stack in, probably to, once again, give the players at the other table a chance to bust and get the free ladder up money, because everyone likes that.
Can't really call. Can't really call as Rambazamba.
No way. But you can take your time. I'm definitely rooting for someone to bust somewhere so we don't have any more of this this tanking stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
We are the anti-tankers. It feels good.
Although I do respect the move by Rambazamba earlier with the king queen. That was optimizing the tank.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, I understand, and I would do it too in that situation. But still, as a non-player, I'm very much anti-tanking in this spot.
That makes sense.
Mr. Sweets, okay. So first of all, is still min raising even with the bad hand, and is clearly trying to wrest control back and start to utilize the power of the big stack again with the 6-5.
Well, if I were Razor, I would flat. But what we've been seeing is a lot of folding in this scenario during these streams.
It seems to me just crazy to fold here, but you are right. Everyone's been folding almost always in this spot. Pepper King says tanking is horrible for viewing. It's hard to argue, but we're here to argue about movies until they stop tanking.
Yeah.
That's the plan, Pep King. And
we've got a 6 on the flop. It's not exactly a cooler, but the question is, can Razor hold on if Mr. Sweets puts pressure on? Now, Mr. Sweets might not feel the need to put pressure on with this hand.
Exactly. I would expect we're usually just going to see a check call and then a check, one street of value, basically, at some point, be it now or later. There's the street. Razor really can't fold for one bet. Shouldn't fold, at least, for one bet. And then, unless things get funky, you'd think everyone would just check it down and hope they're good, right?
That's not too funky. Doesn't change anything. For a 6, at least. It would change something if he had a queen, but when you have a 6, doesn't really.
Yeah. Both guys should be... I guess Razor has more 7s from Razor's point of view.
Ooh, and Razor's going to lead and rep the 7. That's interesting. It's a strange play with the showdown value that Razor has, but the fold equity is quite valuable at this point. It might be a profitable thing, even though it's kind of a weird hand to duo with. Oh, maybe not, because Mr. Sweets is fighting back.
This is just going to have to work, right? I mean, how can Razor do
this is a cool play. Now? You block full houses. You're saying, would you really lead with a 7? I know that's like something people do, but wouldn't you want the chip leader to keep bullying you if you had a 7?
I mean, leading with the 7 is totally standard in this spot. Like the second card pairs after check calling, like that is exactly the lead card. But Mr. Sweet's actually having the 5 of diamonds blocks some straight and flush draws, but still basically says if you don't have a 7, you're done, right?
Yeah.
You just have to fold. And that was nice.
That was a pretty cool play.
Yeah.
And now Mr. Sweet is doing it. He's opening it all the way up.
It's nice. He realizes he can take advantage. And yes, Isan, this is the final table bubble. It's also a almost $9,000 bubble. You know, mostly when people lead, they don't have it. Mostly. It's hard to have it.
M equals 13 asks, who bets 1/6 pot? Well, late stage of tournaments, it's actually not that uncommon, I think, especially among the better players.
And Razor can bet that with a 7 or without a 7. Like, you know, by only betting 1/6 pot, you don't have to have a 7 very often for it to be profitable to bet that much. And if you're going to induce ever, it can really work.
Isan wondering if we think Mr. Sweets raised the turn because the lead was so small. That may have been an emboldening factor because it makes it a lot cheaper to raise. But I think conceptually, if he's that type of player, he might have been doing it regardless, unless it was a huge bet.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. Just he's like situationally, it's just really hard to call here.
Yeah.
You know, like I guess the 7's just going to have to hold on, but like everything else really has to fold now. Maybe a really good queen could hold on. Like Queen Jack could hold on, but would hate it. Would hate it. Right. Not a whole lot of anything for people this time around.
Okay. So we're divided on Die Hard 1 and 3. What's
Yeah, I guess we are.
You at least acknowledge 3 is the second best one, right? In your mind.
Yes. I think it absolutely is. It's good. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
But the thing about Die Hard 3, and let me just do my little bit here. The first half is way better than the second half. The first half is super fun, interesting, all the puzzles, all the fun Sam Jackson stuff. And then it turns into a normal Die Hard movie that is way less interesting. So
I agree with that, but I mean,
okay.
I still enjoyed watching Interstellar, even though the last 45 minutes is garbage. Like it's like
not garbage. It's not.
No, the last 45 minutes is.
No, I know. I'm saying
The answer,
I haven't
I mean,
rewatched
sorry
it.
for the spoiler, but the answer is love. Give me a break. It's terrible.
It's a terrible moment. But the movie itself is actually still really, really, really good. Even as it continues on, it really stays really good. It just you and I both, because I felt the same way until I rewatched it. We get so spoiled by those like moments that like strike us wrong, that don't resonate.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, if you rewatch it, man, it is really good all the way through. You have to forgive that moment without question. It's a bad moment. Anyway,
Ryan
I think
G in the
Interstellar's
house.
like
Ryan Gomez.
Interstellar
Ryan G's in
to
the
me
house.
is the third
Jonathan,
best
shut up.
Christopher Nolan
Ryan
movie.
G's in the house. Ryan G is in the house.
What's up, Ryan Gomez? All right, but my controversial movie take is that The Dark Knight is not a top 3 Christopher Nolan movie.
That's not controversial amongst the movie buffs, I would think.
I disagree. I think everyone would put it at number 3 at worst.
Maybe.
Oh no, maybe Inception. Maybe some people would put Inception ahead of it. But to me, it's The Prestige, it's Memento, and then it's Interstellar. Those are top 3. So.
All right. Let's get some hands going here, and then we'll talk more about Die Hard. Razor could just shove this.
But could just open normally too. I kind of like just a regular open.
I have a feeling Nicholas Gibson knows what he's doing when he asked that question about the Wes Anderson film.
He seems to be winking. So, the Razor basically does shove. That's reasonable too. Scott Chisholm says, I think it's better than Inception. Agreed, Scott. Inception doesn't really make any sense if you let yourself think.
I like Inception. I'm an Inception apologist.
Yeah, that's fair. You are. M=13 says Inception was hot trash. See, you get us. I'm with you, bro. I don't think it's hot trash, but I am like, if the more you watch it with a critical eye, man, the worse it gets. Even though there's beautiful scenes, obviously, and some great moments, because Christopher Nolan is a master. All right, Rambazamba not going to be able to call here.
No, I don't think so.
It's too much. A min raise or a small raise, Rambazamba probably would have called. So Razor gets to avoid the variance, and we continue with 10 here.
Chris Slinker upset about no love for Die Hard 4. My next Die Hard question was going to be what comes after 1 and 3. And to me, 4 is the next best one.
Yeah, I think it is too. But that's not saying a whole lot, and that's what's important. Like Justin Long.
Justin Long was well cast in that role.
Yeah, he was. I wasn't going to say he was bad. I'm just saying, like, the movie like tries really hard to be funny. Did you just, what did you say? Did you just like drive a car through a helicopter? Like, I mean, it gets a little crazy.
Yeah, they go a little far.
Not in a good way.
They go a little far.
The Die Hard franchise should have ended after the first one. That's right. I said it.
Come on. I mean, they shouldn't have made the second one. I agree with that.
Also, the Lord of the Rings should have ended after the first one.
How did they keep writing those things?
Where do they come up with the crazy ideas? All right, so Nan QTF in an interesting spot here with, I think it's a shove with a 7, right? 5-handed, just got to shove this.
I think what we've been seeing is people making like ICM decisions, but he does.
Gets Mr. Sweet to fold the better hand. I don't think Withered's going to call either. Threes are just not a good call in this spot with 2 guys behind you.
I don't see it
30
happening.
Your stack. Small pair where you're usually flipping. At best, sometimes crushed. And this is just going to get through.
Did Isan just give us $20? Are you allowed to do that on this on YouTube?
Ooh. There are ways to give tips and things like that. I think Isan did. Isan, you are amazing. That was incredible.
I didn't even know you could do that. Well, we're not going to start soliciting them. Don't worry.
I was just about to start.
No, Levy, we can't do the value hounding now. No value hounding.
Okay, that's fair. I'll let it go. What a deal, though. I'm gonna buy some ice cream on you.
That was very generous.
Yeah, thanks a lot, buddy. All right, so we have a setup here. Rambazamba, assuming Rambazamba doesn't just shove, with 10's probably not a shove, probably normal open. Razor's going to have a great opportunity. Not really great for Razor, but to 3-bet all in, I have to believe Razor would take it most of the time if Ramba does a min open.
Yeah, this could be how we get to the final table.
Yeah,
seems
it is.
Likely.
I mean, how do you not shove his Razor here, right? 18 blinds. Perfect setup.
You just have to. You have a lot of fold equity. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. Gonna do the same play, it looks like. Maybe use all of the time. once shoved on,
Absolutely.
which is a great idea that I'm sure a lot of people have been doing in online poker for a long time, but I haven't been playing that much online poker. And, when you get on the
I mean,
bubble,
honestly, it's something you can do in live poker too. If you're on any money bubble, I've seen people do it in World Series events.
I mean, only if it's a timed event does it matter.
Only if it's a timed event.
Yeah, like if they time how long you are allowed to have your cards before you make a decision, which they don't in most events.
Right, but you can still just sit there and stall for a long time while you hope someone else busts.
Oh yeah, but not this particular strategy is not necessary.
Oh yeah. Oh, I see what you mean. Right. Where you like do the double move. So Razor, just going to use up all the clock. Then going to call and get the very bad news that Razor's only 15% to win this hand.
It makes the sadness last longer because you know that they have a hand they're willing to go with, and you haven't seen it yet. You're just like, oh, this
no
bad
hearts
flop.
One out.
Now it's no outs. It's over. We're going to the final table.
No more tanking.
Well, hopefully.
Well, different kinds of tanking anyway.
Yeah, it won't be strategic tanking ICM wise. That's for sure.
That's good. I'll take that. I'm in.
And now in these events at the final table, what they do is they change it from timed levels to hand amount levels. So it's 30 hands per level, which I love. I think that's great.
Yep. Looks like we lost 2 players just now. We did. One from the other table as well. Oh, and Razor does end up, even with all the timing out, does get 10th anyway and does not get the jump. That's too bad for Razor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We lost 2 players, huh? Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So Mr. Sweets is Pedro Madeira.
Hold on, is that
Brazilian?
Is that Milwaukee Bucks star Giannis Antetokounmpo up there? Is he at this final table? Like he is suspended for a game right now. So,
well, that's definitely not his last name, and his first name is spelled differently, but it probably is him. Now that
I know those things are true, but you would hide a little bit if you were that guy, right? Except for he couldn't help but put the picture because he's like everybody has. I have to. What's the best Fast and Furious? Asked Brian Thorpe. Well, Jonathan won't deign to watch Fast and Furious movies. He's too good for that. But clearly it's 5. It's obviously 5. Fast 5.
I've seen the first one. I tried to watch the 6th one 2 different times and both times got really annoyed at it about 25 minutes in. And I haven't seen any of the others. But I did see Hobbs and Shaw and actually enjoyed that. So I'm more open to Fast and Furious movies now.
I think you saw 5. I think I saw it with you, perhaps.
I don't think so.
In the Second Run Theater downtown?
No way. No way.
Okay.
No. Come on.
If you liked Hobbs and Shaw...
I would never see a movie with you.
Yes, you would. If you liked Hobbs and Shaw, you'll like Fast 5.
Okay.
Tokyo Drift is a hot take where the main actor is supposed to be a teenager, but he looks like he's 41. It's great.
I mean, in so many movies, the main actor is supposed to be a teenager and they're in their 30s or late 20s. I mean, that's.
I mean, in this one, it's like this guy is like a grizzled veteran of life. It's extreme.
So as we see, here's the clock. Everyone gets now 10 minutes to play, and I guess Nathaniel somehow has 12 minutes. That's interesting. So it's 12 and 10 minutes. And I don't know if you saw everyone, but even if you get down to 0, you still have 5 seconds to act before your hand is killed. We saw in the last one of these we did, the guy who eventually won
ran out of clock.
Alex Stasiak? Ran out of clock, but survived anyway and made it work. Yeah, the clock did become a factor. So Giannis with 12 blinds and ace-9 in the cutoff.
I guess the Greek freak's going to get a little freaky. Most likely.
Yeah. It sort of is like chess clocks, yes.
The 4s, I don't know. The ace-9 folds. Now the 4s is a much easier play. You just get the shove. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. Leonardo can call, though, with a king here. I don't know if he will, but could.
I understand folding that, but you definitely could call.
I think like king 8 suited is a pretty clear call.
Oh, yeah.
King 9 off is a pretty clear call.
We got some good hands this time.
Yeah.
Including
Jack,
Kevin Gibson
Queen,
here.
Pocket tens, King Jack.
Well,
it's nice just to see how the cards get distributed, hand for hand here.
You could fold as Giannis. It's not absurd to fold when under the gun opens and you have ace jack off, and he does.
Yeah. I agree. and you only have 12 blinds, like you
You-
expect you're getting called, and you're often dominated.
Ace Jack off requires that your opponent's range should be weaker or for you to have more fold equity. And against the under the gun range, neither of those things are true.
Now, Kevin Gibson probably just going to have to. It's only 10 more blinds, but I don't think all. It's too much of a
King
stack.
Queen does not do
high.
well against that range that shoves against the under the gun range. Especially from the
Turns
big
out it's
blind,
a
when the
almost-
big blind could just flat with a lot of hands that are reasonable hands. So
I think this is a good fold.
yeah, I like it
That
too.
should be like maybe Ace Jack suited is the bottom of your calling range, your unpaired hand calling range, something like that.
Yeah. Got another Ace Jack. Let's see if Antonio Pedro is willing to go with it against the big stack.
That's the guy you should be targeting with a hand like this, I think.
And he
Yep,
does.
and he does.
That seems right to
Nice
me.
to see. Yeah. Now Pedro, it's pretty cheap.
I mean, you're getting a
Yeah,
really
makes
good
the
price.
call.
I understand the call.
Yep.
It's a very good price.
You're also sending a message to everyone else that you're not just going to open and fold
Yep.
hands if it's relatively cheap. You're just so like don't get cute.
Let's see if
Never
we can
get
get a
bluffed
chop or a 5 here. Doesn't look like. Oh yeah, we
It's
do.
a
We get
chop.
the chop, and that's the second time that this player's been involved in a chop. I guess the first one was also favorable to him. Is that right? He also was behind.
I believe it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had the ace 8.
Yeah. Ace 8 against Ace 9, right?
Yeah.
Ace 8 against Ace Jack actually is what it was. And once again, actually, the queen paired on the river for a 2 pair.
I just want to talk about movies now. It's fun.
All I ever want to do is talk about movies.
Yeah, I mean, you have a problem. It's too much.
Says the guy who only wants to talk about movies right now.
No, it's
You
true.
should be
We
happy
could
in
we
that.
could talk movies and NBA all day, but instead we're talking about
Yeah.
poker. Antonio Pedro
That's
with a
good too.
pretty easy shove.
Very easy, and doesn't look like there's going to be any resistance this time around.
Oh, doesn't shove. Doing some sort
Half the stack.
of weird thing. but
Why?
Either way, it's just going to
Not
get
folding.
through. It's just going to get through this time.
It's just a cute thing to do, I guess. It's just like,
It's adorable.
if there were 2 tables left, this would make this is perfectly fine strategically. But with 1 table, only it's an odd choice, but it's fine. You're right, and it is cute as hell.
It's like Detective Pikachu. Just want to eat him up.
Hey, it's Ace Queen suited again.
1.4 million this time.
Same as last time, 1.25. And once again, everyone just gonna go wee all the way home. Ian McIntyre says, if the next 3 guys get it in, he can happily fold. I guess that's reasonable with the money
Yeah.
ladder type stuff. But then you could raise less. You could raise to $1 million or 800,000 and still be committed. Very
Yeah.
obviously, you don't have to put in half your stack.
The big blind is still not going to call with a wide range for 800,000.
Yeah.
Giannis better not get too sneaky this time with the 7-3, and does not.
M equals 13 asks, what's your favorite Jurassic World? Grant, I'll let you go. I know you got a lot to say about this.
I have only seen the first one, and I can't bear to see the second one after how poorly it ended. Such a bad movie.
Oh. All right. Well, I have something to say about the Jurassic World franchise. The second one is better than the first one. It's completely absurd. There are so many ridiculous plot holes and dumb things that happen, but the action is great. It's very pretty. It's a little scary at times. It's really well directed and executed. And it's a fun movie in its own way. It's the same story because every Jurassic Park is the same story, right? It's like this time we'll do a better job with the dinosaurs. They never do. Three's coming
Nathaniel
soon.
Klein this is the stack size where you might fold king queen off under the gun. It's an awkward stack to play this hand. Shoving seems unprofitable. It's too many blinds.
Yeah. It's okay to min open, but you're going to have to fold to anything. You get in a lot of weird spots, of course. It does seem really wrong to shove like 15, 16 blinds with this hand.
Does
There's
go
the
with
min
the
open.
min open. It looks really
I mean,
strong, so there's an advantage there.
exactly.
It makes it a lot easier to fold to a 3-bet.
Yeah. It is the one with the Volcano Pep King. As we can see, it's unlikely unless Giannis wants to get a little dancy here with the Queen 10. It's probably just going to get through. Yeah. And now
So-
Nathaniel's loving this choice.
I'm not a huge fan of what Giannis has been doing so far, which is taking a lot of time on obvious decisions sometimes, and sometimes eating into his clock. And that just can't be a good idea. What if you double up a few times and you need that clock when your head's up? I mean, it doesn't come back. Meanwhile,
That's a
we have
good point.
aces in the small blind.
So
Or big blind.
Nathaniel, it's
Excuse
up
me.
against the under the gun open. This probably should just be a shove because often the under the gun open can call. But this time, turns out a flat would be a more effective play.
It's the same situation as last time when Kevin Gibson opened the king queen suited. Got shoved on by the tens of Nathaniel Klein.
There's the shove. Kevin Gibson feels a little picked on right now.
Yeah, but you just can't call with king jack. Just can't do it.
And you're usually not getting picked on when they're raising your under the gun range. They just have it, as we see in both times Nathaniel did.
Yep. M equals 13 likes the 30 hand levels instead of time. I like it a lot. I've been a huge fan of it ever since I noticed they were doing it a couple streams ago.
Yeah, then you don't have to tilt as someone tanks your freaking level away.
Yep.
Which is the worst.
Ace queen suited on the button for Nathaniel Klein. Could be bad timing for Giannis here.
Giannis using up that clock, and with less than 10 blinds and ace 8 suited, this is supposed to be a shove, but that is, of course, in a vacuum. I don't expect Giannis to shove based on what we've been seeing, and there's the fold.
That's probably a profitable ICM fold with 10 blinds from that position.
Yeah, I think it is. And as we see, Nathaniel wasn't going to fold ace queen suited to a shove, so
Nathaniel also using some clock here.
Yeah, like I wouldn't be too worried about balancing or anything like that. That your time in this spot, like you can see your hand before it gets to you. Everyone knows that. You could have already decided what you were going to do. It's like you just looked at it.
Right.
It wasn't like live. So Kevin may have a chance to get a little revenge on Nathaniel.
Yeah, I think he's going to get it through. I expect. Oh, Nathaniel just folds the Jack 10 suited. Wow.
It's really surprising.
Is a shocker. And, well, it turned out to be great timing.
It's like Nathaniel can see Kevin's cards every time. Nathaniel just like is, granted, he's had 10s, aces, but this hand, how do you just fold that?
I don't know.
Seems like such an obvious open.
And there's no way that he could have access to this stream and it could be helping him because this is on a 30-minute delay for anybody who's wondering about that. So
this is a who dares win spot for Kevin. And by shoving, it's going to be hard for Fabiano to call.
It is late position, but yeah, I get it.
Kevin dared and wins.
Another ace queen. Ace queen is the hand of the final table so far.
It's so thrilling to see that. Ryan Thorpe says a trilogy of Jurassic World movies is proof they'll beat any dead horse that makes money. Well, yeah.
Yeah, of course they would. Why wouldn't they?
That is absolutely correct. They made 8 Harry Potter movies, bro. They made 4 Hunger Games movies, and both of those they took the last book and cut it in half to make 2 movies out of them just to squeeze a little more cash out of it. Here's Ace King for Leonardo. But no one else really has anything, so.
Pedro Madera does, but it's an under the gun open. Can't really do much with. I guess you could do something with 7-8 suited if there weren't short stacks behind. You could flat against another deep stack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
there's
now
another ace queen.
Pedro's turn with the ace queen.
I mean, Giannis is short now. Like, short, right? Like, this is 8 blinds level short, and you got ace 9 suited.
Yeah.
My guess is Giannis is going to fold here, but you really got to shove this hand. What do you think?
I think
Can you come?
I would find myself shoving it, but I don't know. We've seen these types of plays over and over again with these folds, and he does move in this time.
Glad to see it, even though it's probably not going to work out. Still, like you want to give yourself a chance to win more than just the next ladder up. 7. No, that's a terrible card.
It's just a 9 now, and we'll be down to 7.
Seen some crazy rivers, but that's paint.
Looks like paint, and the Greek Freak has been eliminated in 8th place. Gets $43,000. That's not so bad.
Not so bad. But as we mentioned, $399,000 for first is a little bit better. It's true.
I don't know if I want to touch the Star Wars question. It's almost like talking about politics, talking about ranking Star Wars. People get mad.
I'm happy to wade into this frickin' Star Wars field. I have no fear. What are we asking? What's the best Star Wars?
Probably.
Return of the Jedi is a really, really terrible answer, Brian Thorpe. That is by far the worst of the original trilogy. By far. They are phoning it in, bro.
My guess is that Brian Thorpe is working on some childhood nostalgia with that movie, and that's what's going on.
I don't like to attack people's movie opinions, but wow, what a terrible movie opinion you just had.
You love attacking people's movie opinions. Meanwhile, we have poker. We have World Series of Poker final table.
So Kevin Gibson could call here, but in practice, no one ever seems to. But it would be perfectly fine to call, Kevin. This is another one of those where you don't really want to use up too much of your clock. So.
Jar Jar as a Sith is maybe Jar Jar as a Sith is the best Star Wars opinion I've ever seen. That's good. Obviously he is.
Obviously he's not. How dare you? Man, there's some, I'm just saying the chat window is blowing up with Star Wars opinions, and I got things to say, but I'm holding back to focus on the poker right now. But there will be a break, and I will unload.
Don't say that on the internet.
Unload with my opinions. Just unload with just opinion. It's just movie opinions here.
The audience is suddenly not feeling
comfortable. I ain't
comfortable.
Gonna be gentle.
Stop it. Disgusting, Levy.
How is it I don't mean it like that. Disgusting. Come on. Scott Chisholm asked what I think about Solo. So disappointing. I thought
hey, we have a post-flop hand.
Hey, all right. Good job, everybody. We got the two big stacks playing each other, too.
Not much for Pedro, though. He does have two back doors, and he really has the leverage over Leonardo as far as putting stack pressure on him. He could check raise kind of with impunity against this stack. He does just call.
I don't hate the call. It's cheap. They're good. They're good turn cards. And he could lead this card if he wants to.
I think he will. Oh, he doesn't. I wonder if he's going to check raise. I would love to see a check raise if Leonardo bets, but we're going to see a check back with this hand, right? Ooh, that's not a good card for Pedro to take a shot on. Very bad card.
But he's probably going to take a shot because he's going to try and get like King High to fold, right?
Yeah.
And you got Jack High. Why not? He spends two blinds trying to do it. It can't be that bad. Seems like a super straightforward call for Leonardo.
Just a terrible run out for Pedro. I mean, the 8 on the turn was good, but the river, not a good. Oh, it actually works anyway. All right. Wow. Nice job, Pedro Madera.
Leonardo thinks he's losing to a 5, I guess. And once in a while, quads. Wow. I can't believe he checked back the turn to fold the river when he boats up. That is surprising. Kevin Gibson.
Brian Thorpe didn't actually like Return of the Jedi. He liked
good
Empire.
job, Brian.
Empire is the correct answer.
Yes, of course. Of course it's Empire. First one has got a lot of heart too, but Empire's the best one.
I mean, Luke Skywalker, here's my controversial Star Wars opinion. Luke Skywalker is, if you remove the prequels, the worst non-droid main character in Star Wars. He's a whiny little baby. He just he's gifted powers and barely he winds his way to the powers.
Stop talking.
All right, Kings against Queens and Ace Jack.
And Ace Jack is in between. Ace Jack is probably 3-betting.
Yeah,
there's a lot going on.
But we'll get away from it after 3-betting.
Oh, just a flat. Well, now Antonio's got an obvious shove here.
We might see another casualty.
Likely to. And then Pedro. I think the bright play for Pedro, assuming Antonio shoves, is to flat this shove. There's no reason to re-raise with kings. Give Christopher a chance to put in way too many chips here when you're crushing him.
Yeah, Christopher may decide to isolate reshove if you flat as Pedro. That's true.
He's got just the hand to do it with, quite frankly. Ace Jack is like almost perfect. It's like the top of your flatting range here. And blocks a lot of stuff. So if Pedro just calls, he doesn't.
He moves in.
Doesn't give Christopher the chance.
And really bad news for Antonio Pedro.
Yeah.
Except they
Wow.
both flop sets. Wow. Okay, it's even harder now.
1 out. Yeah.
And it is there. Oh my God. He made quads.
It
Oh,
took quads to survive.
that is sick. That is disgusting.
Oh,
It's exciting. It's fun, but
wow.
no fun to be Pedro Madera.
Unbelievable. Pedro Madera still the chip leader after absorbing that pretty extraordinary bad beat. The 1 outer on the river.
Pretty damn good time to make quads when you have 7 players remaining. The current payout is 60K, and there's 400K on top. Wow.
Oh, amazing. Absolutely amazing. You also go from being the short stack to being 5th in chips.
And having aces, by the way. Although unlikely to get too much action unless Leonardo Matos decides to. You could even flat, but the problem is that the blinds could shove over the top.
Also, you need to be a little deeper to be able to flat a hand like this usually. I mean, I guess you're post flop with that, if the guy's playing tight, maybe you could get him to fold. But I like the fold.
I think
right.
If the blinds were both very deep, 40 blinds effective is not terrible to flat the button versus a cutoff open with 6-5 suited.
40 blinds effective.
Oh no, yeah. Antonio Pedro has fewer chips than Leonardo. Excuse me. I was thinking for some reason that Antonio Pedro had basically won the tournament and had all the chips. I was wrong.
Oh. No. Yeah. That's why I was confused when I said 40 blinds. I just decided you must be right and decided
I was
not.
I was not.
I tried to not make you look bad and not look dumb myself, and I failed on all fronts.
Good.
All right. We have a pretty clear. Oh wow, Jack 8 suited just folds the button.
Same guy who folded Jack 10 in the cutoff. Jack 10 suited.
Man, if Kevin Gibson knew the kinds of hands that Nathaniel's folding, he'd feel way better about the shoves that he's doing. Every time Nathaniel shoves, 3-bet shoves on him. Because, man, it's just really, really tight.
So we've seen players shove in Fabiano's spot. I don't like a shove. It's just way too many chips, but we've been seeing a lot of it. We know if he doesn't shove, he'll get action. Ooh, he limps. I like this.
Uh-oh. This is a setup for a really...
Oh,
and somehow Pedro avoids it.
Yeah, he somehow checks.
Amazing. Like that was just going to get shut out of this pot, and instead, well, I mean, Pedro's often going to lose anyway, but still gets to realize some equity. And is going to win this hand.
Yeah.
Almost always now.
I like Fabiano's his plan, his setup. Just didn't work out.
Yeah, especially against the chip leader, you figure that guy's just going to raise you a lot. Yeah. And actually had a hand to do it with, too. Now this sucks for Fabiano. It's like, what do you...
The chart says he laid out the twigs and berries there, Vince. He makes the call.
Well, Vance. Yeah, that's not crazy. The only thing you should be losing to is a river 10, almost always. I guess a 4 might be betting for value on the river too, but like everything else should have, like the draw should have already bet. The diamond should have already bet at some point along the way, especially when it's the big stack.
Are we going to see Nathaniel with another tight fold here? We are. He folds the king jack.
So many tight folds. And let's see how Pedro plays this small blind to big blind now against a bigger stack, a more normal size raise.
Well, it's actually a very small raise for small to big. Yeah. Usually you'd see 3 to 3.5x, maybe up to 4.
At least 3x in this spot.
Still gets through. I feel like you could really flat, and it's fine if you're Christopher there with Jack 7 off, getting an incredible price closing the action, in position for the whole hand.
And you're deep. You're deep enough to make the call, too. It's like fine to lose that extra blind. Like, you should do it. I agree with you. Anyway, here's Fabiano with the ace-5 suited. Surely we're going to see some chips go in the middle. Yep. We do.
Antonio could easily flat here. I think flatting is probably the most natural play.
Yeah, it's such a good hand to see a flop with. And there we go. Everyone flops something.
But especially Antonio Pedro. Mr. Quads over there.
Oh, yeah. We'll start calling him borrowed time Antonio.
Wow, that's a little harsh, don't you think?
Is it?
Yes.
How is that harsh?
It's been declared. Nobody likes seeing the spade on the turn, especially Antonio. Fabiano has fewer spades in his range after checking back the flop.
Right. So Fabiano doesn't like to see it. Actually, Antonio's more comfortable with the spade, right? Because Fabiano doesn't have many spaces.
That's what I meant. Of course.
Yeah. I figured that's what you meant.
The
Just
perfect bet
cleaning
size,
it up.
1,001,250. Just going to take
And
it
Fabiano
down.
just folds.
It was a large bet.
It was. All right, we are on break. This is this final table's been pretty rocking so far. We had a little bit of a slowness to start with, but man, then things went a little bit crazy. That Kings versus Queens hand was amazing. But let's get into some of the movie stuff while we can. We have 5.5 minutes, and I got a lot to say to you people. A lot of problems with you people. All right, let's see. So Ryan Gomez says, I haven't watched Solo yet and fear they'll ruin one of the best characters ever. Yeah, they don't ruin the character, but they certainly, it's disappointing all the decisions that they make. They feel like they have to explain everything that ever happened to Solo. Why is his name Han Solo? Why does he carry that blaster? Why does he have that vest? Like, who cares? No one cared. No one's asking those questions. The only thing, there is some good stuff in it. Like they show you how he meets Chewie. It's actually pretty great. There's some other good scenes too, but it's sort of a mishmash between two directors. Lord and Miller started the movie. Ron Howard finished the movie. And honestly, you can tell that it's not one clear vision. Also, I'm really not a fan of the woman who played Khaleesi, Amelia Clark, who's in this as the female lead. I think she's not a very good actress, and she's not a good actress in this either. Her character also kind of a nothing ball, which is too bad. It's an okay movie, but that's all. What else do we got here? Let's look through and get upset about some of the things you guys wrote about Star Wars. All right. Thank God Brian Thorpe was joking about Return of the Jedi being the best. Solo is the most underrated Star Wars movie out there, says Scott Chisholm. Scott, I don't know if you're joking or not, but you know what I think now. It looks like Scott Chisholm really cares about this stuff, so that's fair. What else do we have here? I watched Return of the Jedi as a 9-year-old. The Ewoks were legit, says Pep King. They were legit. I saw it as a 13-year-old, and they were awesome. That movie was great as a 13-year-old. It doesn't hold up as much as the other two, the original sequel. I feel pretty clear about that. Anything else with Star Wars before we get into anything really?
Well, I have something to say. I have something important.
Oh, you
want
to do the Luke Skywalker? Go ahead.
No, I mean Luke Skywalker. I can continue that. The Luke Skywalker is the worst main character. I mean, name a worse one, and I'll be okay.
I can push back. Well, the thing is, you're thinking of the original sequel trilogy. If you're thinking about the latest trilogy, there are worse characters than Luke.
I agree with that. For the original trilogy, is there a worse character than Luke Skywalker?
Humanoid character. It's hard to think of any. I don't know that there is. Luke is okay, but everyone else is way better for sure.
Gotta go to the Tashi station and pick up some power converters.
Yeah, Anakin as such is certainly one of the absolute worst characters of all.
But that's not the original trilogy, of course. So. And
Jar Jar Binks worse even than Anakin for sure, right?
Yes.
But go on, please, with whatever you're going to say. You got 2 minutes and 50 seconds before we get back to it.
I guess this is a controversial opinion, but I think the second best Star Wars movie is The Force Awakens.
Wow, that is controversial. I'm going to disagree with you and take A New Hope, but I think The Force Awakens is a fabulous movie, and it's probably, I think it's my third favorite one. And I know that's a slight hot take, but only a slight hot take.
Define worst, says Ryan Gomez, and C-3PO doesn't count. We're not counting droids because we are, prejudiced against droids.
What the hell are you talking about? C-3PO is worse. C-3PO is a wonderful.
I actually agree.
Dry-witted android.
I actually agree. C-3PO is worse.
By
worst, I guess I mean least likable, and with the least agency in their arc as a character. Luke doesn't really actually take initiative ever, except when he ditches Yoda.
I mean, that's crazy. In the entire third movie, he's taking initiative.
Yeah, but not in an entertaining. He's doing it in such a Luke-y, whiny way.
Now you're just saying dumb stuff. Like the opening scene of Return of the Jedi where Luke comes in as the Jedi, confronts Jabba. That's him fully grown as a Jedi. We could see him like that. It's an awesome opening.
Yeah, but can you imagine how much better that scene would have been if it was like Liam Neeson from the prequels doing it? It would have been way better.
I'd rather see Liam Neeson from Taken doing it, but that's just me. Pod racing on N64 is the best thing to come out of the prequels. Pod racing games are fun. It's just too bad those prequels weren't good. And it's too bad the sequels ended up so annoying.
Which Star Wars character would I compare Jonathan to? That little thing that flies around in what's the first prequel called? I can't remember now. Phantom Menace. That little blue guy with the gross like half shaven beard who flies around and was once the slave
Quado.
owner of Anakin. Yeah.
I think it's Quado.
Yeah, that's Jonathan.
That's a very racist character. There are actually many racist characters in,
Yeah.
in the original, the prequels. It's like if you let yourself listen to the accents and what kinds of people they're portraying, it's really noticeable.
Yep.
It's strange, honestly. That's not like a woke thing. That's just like really obvious and out there. So you compare me to the Jewish character I noticed, Grant.
Is he actually Jewish? I thought he was more like Italian.
No. He's definitely Middle Eastern and probably Jewish.
Oh. Well,
yeah.
My bad if I just committed racism. Sorry.
Why don't we move away from that actual aspect of this conversation? So much to say, so much going on. The chat just blows up when you start talking about movies.
This is what I was talking about with Star Wars being political. It politicized everything.
It's great. By the way, I'm Ryan Gomez. Yes, Emilia Clarke was Sarah Connor in Terminator Genesis, a surprisingly clever movie, actually, that got no love. Not great, but clever. All right, we're back. 7-handed. Blinds are up. Here we go. So are you opening this, Grant, in this spot?
I probably am not, actually. It's an awkward stack for it.
You need to have like 18 or 19.
We also saw Fabiano fold King Queen, which is a little bit tighter in that position.
For sure. Maybe Fabiano, though, is feeling the pressure of Pedro being on his immediate left and just feeling like he's just going to get 3-bet more than almost anyone else would, because of that. I don't know if it's true, but that may be a concern. Antonio, by the way, limping the King Jack.
Which is fine if you have a limping strategy, and it looks like Leonardo is going to try to pounce on this. This is not a comfortable spot for Antonio, actually, out of position with King Jack off.
He can very comfortably shove. I think that's the move. He chooses not to.
He does call, and Leonardo flops a gut shot. That's reason enough to continue, I think.
Absolutely. It's going to be really hard for Antonio to do anything here. With this hand, you flop the gut shot. That's like almost a miracle flop. It's like, how did we do that? We have equity.
And picks up a pair.
Doesn't put in any chips, but picks up bottom pair. Interesting.
It is a surprising check with no showdown value on the flop.
Yeah. Will Antonio try and steal this?
Nope.
Leonardo might just check this again now. Nope. That's a third of the pot. That should do it.
Equity denial. It works.
I guess Leonardo wanted to realize the gut shot equity on the flop rather than get blown off the hand. But
it's not enough equity to be concerned about that, I don't think.
I agree. I think Antonio made a mistake too, deciding to limp call with 20 blinds, blind versus blind. You just got to shove it and hope it works out.
He had more than 20 at the time.
They were effectively like 22 blinds. I guess he has 22 blinds now, so I guess I'm wrong. So he had 23 blinds.
No, it was a lot more. He had 1 million more than he has now when it started.
Oh, yeah. All right. Whatever. You're right. I guess actually then a limp call strategy isn't that bad with King Jack with that many blinds.
Yeah. King 10 suited fold. Let's see if Christopher is going to open the King Jack and the hijack.
Don't you just have to? Yep. You do. Can't imagine Antonio doing anything but folding after deciding not to play the King Jack aggressively last time. But Antonio's thinking about using up clock doing so there must be something going on.
Or he's just using up clock.
It may be a connection thing too, where.
But often,
based on where they are,
often in online poker will disconnect you and not cost you clock if you actually have a disconnection.
Yeah. That may not be true, though, when they're at a final table of a World Series.
I mean, it seems like a time that it would be most needed.
I mean, the only time we saw anyone get a disconnect is Pedro, and it let all his time go, and then it said he was disconnected. So I don't know.
Hey, Antonio's opening it up. Let's see if Kevin Gibson is truly as tight as we think he is.
Yeah.
Nope.
He's
gonna
not.
shove it.
Oh, Antonio, you finally decided to let your hair down a little bit and gets stomped on. That's how poker is. So much of the time. All right, Nathaniel with a pretty good hand and an under the gun open.
Yeah, probably just going to shove and not get called.
Yep, it's a 12 blind shove. Super straightforward. You assume you're getting called so much by the under the gun open too when you're shoving for 12 blinds, but it's actually hard to imagine Queen Jack calling. Yeah. That's got to be disappointing, honestly. Daniel only pick up $1 million.
Nathaniel will still fold with the bigger stack now.
So this is setting up as an interesting button and blind situation. I guess Christopher's just going to shove the ace queen a lot. And it's probably going to do it. We'll see.
Yeah, I can't see him not shoving here.
Yeah.
And there
Makes
it is.
it easy for everybody else.
Kings
Pocket
for
deuces
Pedro.
in two spaces, two different places, and then there's Pedro.
Really
Boy,
bad
if
news for
gets it against
Fabiano.
Pedro,
Really bad news if he moves
can't,
in.
He can't make a set, and he can't make a flush against the kings. He better not get it in against kings, but he's really might shove right here.
Yeah, he's going to need to make a straight.
That's all he would have. Yep, it's a straight or nothing. That is tough. We see a 3 is out, a 5 is out. I mean, this is really tough. A 6 is out.
He might
There
have
are
like
not many ways.
3%, maybe less than 3% in actuality.
Yeah, it's probably less. I think it's less than 3%.
I think it is. I think maybe it's under 1%.
What I mean is he doesn't know how bad it is. Kevin Gibson knows, and that's it. It's already over.
Well, if it wasn't already over, it's super over now.
Yep.
And there's the goodbye from Pedro. He's been doing that when players bust. Give him the goodbye. I'm sure they really appreciate it.
Well, at least $60,000 to comfort him. That's something.
It is something. Now we're up to 82,000. The next money jump gets us into six-figure territory. We'll be at 114.
So this is one of the spots, we learn a lot about the player in the small blind when they have a medium hand like this. The stacks are about this much, and it folds to them,
Mm-hmm.
Some people are going to fold here. Some people are going to limp here. Some people are going to raise small. Some people are going to raise big.
Well, Pedro might be saving Kevin Gibson right now. Because I can't imagine he would have folded blind versus blind against Nathaniel Klein.
I agree. If Kevin Gibson ends up, going like finishing second or third or even like that's all like free money. It feels like at this. Obviously, he could have sucked out here too against Ace Queen, but some 74% of the time or something like that, he's just out. Nothing for anyone here. More Star Wars comments. Brian Thorpe, can we all agree that Jar Jar is the worst Star Wars character? I think we can agree.
Yes.
Maybe Grant can't, but the rest of us.
No, I agree. What kind of a dig was that? What was that about? Wait, why you gotta be after me like that? What is
Luke Skywalker is the most wily guy in the world. I don't know. Is that you? Am I doing an impression of you now? Hey, James Bonderchuk.
Oh no, it's James Bonderchuk. He's gonna ask us deep philosophical questions.
Yeah, keep doing it. That was good last time.
I actually like it. It's fun.
James, well, you haven't been here on the breaks. We've been just debating Star Wars characters in movies.
A little different than ethics.
Yeah. Yeah, Alex gets it. Alex W.
I mean, I can only take that to mean that Alex W thinks that big Jar Jar fans are the best class of people. That's the only reason he would say that.
Yeah, that's a completely reasonable thing to say and super normal.
I mean, you're being very hurtful right now, and it's I'm trying not to cry because we're on the stream, but
this is our brand. Get used to it.
Usually when I cry on the podcast, nobody can see, and I can just kind of be quiet for a second.
Just pretend you're like blowing your nose. You can get a tissue and like look it up a little bit to your eyes.
Good strategy.
Yeah. Grant does cry a lot, like a surprising amount. For a how old are you?
James,
like 32
James
or something?
Bondarchuk, interesting comment based on previous things said about Star Wars.
Guess who Grant said if I could pick any character in the Star Wars universe to compare you to, Jonathan, and he picked Watto. And I was like, yeah, why do you think that is, Grant?
I didn't realize. I thought he was Italian.
Just racism.
I thought he was Italian.
Leonardo, same size race as last time, so clear strategy here for Leonardo. Nathaniel Klein cannot go folding this hand and fold 6-5 suited in position. I'm surprised. Do you ever fold there, Grant?
I don't fold as often as anybody at these tables ever.
Yeah, me either. 6-5 suited seems like such a great hand to play in position for 1.5 more blinds.
Serious, isn't this really good?
I mean,
Yusa in big doo-doo now, Grant.
So we have the open by Pedro, the flat by Leonardo because they're the two chip leaders. Leonardo doesn't want to go bust if Pedro's under the gun range, but can't fold here. And Kevin calls as well. This is Kevin's flop. We'll see if he can win, but
this is actually the flop where you're supposed to check shove. Like you have the most 2 pair combos, and you actually do have a gut shot and 2 overs and a backdoor flush draw. But it's a disastrous turn for Kevin Gibson. He's probably going to lose a bet now.
I mean, he's got a 1.5 to 1 stack to pot ratio. There are ways he ends up losing it all.
Although his
probably won't call it off.
Extreme tightness will probably save him here.
Assuming a normal size bet here, he probably calls once and folds a lot of rivers. He does have outs, by the way, anyway, with the gutter and the 7. This is a clear call, though.
Seems like it, but, I've been surprised before.
A shove would be a bad play.
Yep, he does call.
That 3 shouldn't be scary to him.
It should be scary to Leonardo, though, a little bit. But hand's a bit too good. Now, this is a tough spot. Missed hearts are unlikely because Leonardo did not bet the flop. So maybe you can talk yourself into, I don't beat any other aces except for ace-5 and ace-deuce.
You could say that, but you could also say, isn't Leonardo supposed to be a little afraid of the 3 here? How can he shove with like ace-9 suited or ace-10 suited or whatever? It feels like. But it is for your life, and it turns out Leonardo has about as good a hand as he can have in this spot, right? Like with failing a set of 6s.
Not sure what Pedro's doing over there, but it's probably not cool when another player is tanking for their tournament life to basically make commentary like that.
You can just ignore it, though. If you can't handle that, you don't belong in the show, All
right. I'm just saying.
So what are you doing here as Kevin? I mean, I think I'm calling off, honestly. I think I'm just getting busted out.
I think it's an incredibly tough spot. Like, it really does look like the dude has a better ace, and if he's a good player, he's probably going to shove a better ace that's like ace-10 plus. He's probably going to have to. Like, he's just beating too much of the range to not. So
yeah. Brian Thorpe makes a good point. I think most people call here, but this guy seems really tight and will fold. That seems what we've seen. Kevin Gibson really clearly in the torture chamber, using up a lot of time. It's understandable. This is one of those spots, though, where if you call and you're right, you suddenly have a lot of chips, like a lot. If you fold right now, forget about being right or wrong. You have like 8 blinds. So that's another reason to decide to call here, even though it wouldn't be right this time. So you actually you put yourself in position to really do damage in this tournament if you call and you're right.
So what are
should be the only reason? But.
What are the reasonable bluffs? Let's eliminate for a second. Oh, there's a fold here.
It does fold.
Nice fold, by the way. What are the reasonable bluffs? Like.
I think it's mostly air. I think it's a lot of air. I don't know if there's any. I don't know if there's a lot of equity. That you figure those are going to bet a lot on the flop anyway, mostly, right?
Well,
so I think it's like king queen.
Looks like Kevin's going to be 70% to be out of this tournament, even after that good fold.
Well, he gives himself a chance though. He's 30% instead of 0%.
Yeah.
He's down to 1 out. One card though.
He's the king.
Outs. It's got to be paint to even have a chance. Can't be a club. None of those things. Not a club, but not paint. And see, now Kevin's going to be kicking himself till he sees the stream, thinking like, I should have called. I would have had it, since I went out anyway. And even, you see, Leonardo said sorry as if he had bluffed him. but he didn't. That's actually pretty good.
Now Pedro's back to turning it on.
Yeah. I mean, we're 5-handed. They've all locked up $114,000, but almost 300K left to be won, and only 4 guys to get through. I mean, it is real. Shards, I think his range is a little bit different than that. I think he's going to bet miss hearts a lot on the flop. I don't think his aces are usually that big. Ace queen's the best it can be, and I think he can have hands like queen jack suited and king queen that he checks on the flop, and when they check to him again on the turn, he just fires. So
it is possible.
I could be wrong about that, but that would be I think it's a reasonable guess. Here, by the way, potential little cooler spot.
Well, now Pedro can check back pretty comfortably on the turn.
He can deny equity though too if he wants.
Against diamonds specifically, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Also,
Brian
just
really
more
wants to
pressure
root
on
against
him.
Pedro. You can root against Pedro.
Also, yeah. You can also bet the turn to build a pot, Grant, because you have so many outs to improve. But obviously checking's fine too when you actually hit the 4.
Yeah.
And also, especially against the big stack who can like shut you out of the pot. It's
That's
pretty
true.
Check back. Play a smaller pot. All right, Leonardo's raced to 750 every time he does again, but this time it's time for Nathaniel Klein to fight back.
I think it's this is a really natural hand to shove. It doesn't play incredibly well post flop, and it's ahead of a lot of the range, even some of the range that might consider calling.
Yep, I agree. Like ace-9 is going to feel obligated to call probably. Well, I don't know if it will actually, but it should be obligated. It should feel obligated to call. All right. Well, now we're going to see more big stack clashes. It looks like Leonardo and Pedro. They're going to be opening each other's big blinds a lot.
It's a real nothing flop for these hands.
We're going to see how they navigate. Wow, 2 ace-9s and an ace-10. Pedro just folds the ace-9 5-handed. Wow. Well, Nathaniel, you can if you want to.
Yeah, I mean,
it doesn't really feel like you can call here. Do you agree?
It's a little shallow to call. I agree.
Oh.
It plays better as a shove, but getting called in this spot is terrible.
Well, he goes for the 3-bet that he can fold on with. Kevin Mathers, he knows what's up.
Yep. Yeah, this is not a stream that the public has access to. You have to be special.
We got clout coming out our frickin' holes. Like ear holes, though. Ear holes. And like nose holes and eye holes. I don't know. Sorry.
Stop naming holes.
It went bad. That really went off the ledge. All right, here we have what feels like a must call for Leo.
Yeah, this is going to be a flip for Antonio Pedro's tournament life.
He hit a queen once on the river, but he's going to need a lot of help again. Needs another miracle.
Well, it's easier to hit a deuce now than it was a queen then.
That is true. Nope. Not a deuce. Well, he did ladder up a little bit, though.
Turner Doublers just says, Jesus, Jonathan.
I agree. I'm with you, Turner Doubler.
Name more holes.
Hey, at least they started with ear holes.
Golf hole.
Ear hole.
Basket hoop hole for basketball.
Come on. They mean orify.
Hey, we got a
semi-cooler.
Semi-cooler here.
These guys are going to play this hand very carefully against each other, though. I think we've seen that. And it's understandable if you look at the stacks. Like, this is such a check-back card. Like, how can you play a big pot against the other guy with 18 million? We've got two 7 million stacks, basically, or 7 and 8 million chip stack.
I think on this river, though, it's time to go for value as Pedro.
Yeah, sure. Not big value, like 1 million, 1.1. Yeah, there you go, even less.
And it's calls. Relatively straightforward call with King 4, even though you're not beating any value. That's okay. People have bluffs.
Pedro could be betting a 4 for value that's worse. It's not impossible. Trying to get called by high.
Maybe.
It's unlikely, but it's at least possible. I mean, probably not, but it's possible. Anyway. Look at this tiny, tiny race.
Saw it last time that Pedro had the situation also.
Yeah.
Small against big.
Feels like you just have to call with the suited 9, but Christopher disagrees.
Brian Thorpe seems to hate Pedro more than he hates Attack of the Clones, which is just an assumption I'm making that he hates Attack of the Clones, because why wouldn't you?
I hate sand. It gets in everything.
That was romantic.
So
that scene.
The chemistry is extraordinary between those two. Christopher gets it back right away, and with some little extra there. But it looks like Pedro has just decided, all right, it's time. And that seems fair. Sharks makes a good point. I like Pedro personally. We lack personality in poker. It's true. Everyone is so chill these days. We've all learned not to celebrate.
Yeah, we need more Tony G's out there to bring more people into poker.
Like saying bye-bye it's a little bit of a dick move, but it's also, it's a move of any kind, and that's personality, and I'll take it. I'm with you. Good call. There's Sharks. Is that your name, or is that like a description?
Well, that could be rather offensive to some people.
How,
this is a very bad flop.
Offensive?
This is a very bad flop for Christopher. Some people are really defensive about their names, like you. When anybody calls you any derivation of John other than like Jonathan.
I do hate that. That's a fair point, actually. All right, you know what? May not be his name though. That's just his handle. But you're right. You're right. It could be the name. I apologize. Sharks 55. I won't make any more jokes like that.
Here we go again.
Okay, fair enough.
Pedro's just
once again the tiny.
It's been working.
Christopher's going to fold this hand, right? He folded this 9-3 suited. He's going to. So if you have a player who's just going to fold hands like that, you should just auto raise to that amount every time.
No reason not to.
Yeah, blinds are up. We got 2 under 20 blind stacks here, and Pedro looks like he's putting it in gear. Shard says he's never actually sharded. I'm glad to hear that. I think that's a quality trait.
Also, congratulations. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Although, has anyone really never actually sharded, though? I mean,
no, I was going to go with, who cares if they haven't, but like, you have to have down times to have up times in life, right? And if you shard, that's a downtime in life. It gives you perspective. It grows you as a person.
Yeah. Leonardo with the min open, and Nathaniel, he knows what to do with the 10s. We've already seen him play 10s. This is what he does. Of course, it's correct. It's an easy win.
Nathaniel's hit a lot of big hands at this final table.
Yeah. Almost never gets action, though. He just 3 bets and they fold.
Well, as you saw, he just folded the king 4 on the button, so that's probably why he's not getting action. People might have recognized his tightness.
Yeah. I mean, there's just the chat. The chat is just amazing.
Yeah.
So Christopher just can't fold a pair to 1 bet. I mean, can obviously chooses not to, and turns 2 pair, but it's a scary card, Grant.
It's not the best 2 pair, that's for sure, but it's pretty good.
You got the 8 of diamonds. You have 2 pair. You're never folding. Pedro does have a gutter and chooses to check. Will Christopher deny equity here?
Bad card for the 8-9. But
you just can't fold, though.
No,
right?
You're still, like, based on the lines, which is just entirely passive the whole time. 8-9 is very often the best hand.
I mean, Pedro bet the flop, so like Pedro can have a king or a 10 and check when the 9 of diamonds comes on the turn. But
true.
So, I mean, they're killing it in the chat right now. Yeah. Idea for a poker show, Shark Cage. I mean, that's absolutely amazing.
How do you trigger the shark cage? Like, how does it come about?
Wow, that's really good. Show me someone who hasn't sharded, and I'll show you a liar, says Braden Engel. Brian Thorpe says this is high quality sharding content. This is apparently what our World Series of poker stream has come to.
Yep.
I thought we were in trouble when we were ranking Fast and Furious movies. We are. Turns out there is a whole new level below.
Oh, we can go deeper. We can go deeper into the crevasse.
But we got stuff going on in this flop, which we really need to pay attention to. Big flop for both players. Obviously bigger for Nathaniel, but Pedro with the best hand right now.
I'm guessing a check call is coming. Unless Pedro checks it back, which is possible, but no, he goes for small bet.
Yeah. Nathaniel's stack is just too big to put in a big raise. I mean, you could put in a big raise and just be committed to the pot, I guess, but you can't. Shoving is like, seems out of the question here. I like the call.
James Bondarchuk says this is also 6 months of COVID-related cabin fever. You would think so, but that's not really the case. We know that, Jonathan, don't we?
I mean, I would say I'm a little more hyper whatever than I am normally, with the sharding content and the like. I could be wrong about that. All right, bigger bet now, and now Nathaniel's got a little bit of a decision.
Yeah, you can actually fold here, depending on what you think. Like, you don't have showdown value. You can't call the river without improving.
Of course, you could raise now, but you're committing to the pot. But an all-in is an interesting play. I don't know what Pedro does. Probably folds, right? Looks like a 10 a lot. If he goes check call, check shove, but he lets it go. That's the most reasonable.
That's just pure big stack poker from Pedro, making sure to deny equity in the best way, like not being super concerned about getting check shoved on.
Yep. Yeah, I like it a lot. Pedro really growing his chip lead now. Him and Leonardo were basically the same for a while, but Pedro even calling with the queen 4 off, something we're just not seeing anybody do at these World Series of Poker final tables. It's cool.
Yeah, I'm on the Pedro train. Whatever you think of his antics, at least he is good for the game.
Okay. James Bondarchuk says the trick to winning shark cage is making sure no one knows you're in the shark cage. That sounds right, actually.
Yeah.
That does sound correct. We're going to look back and find that this had the most views, right? For sure. This is guaranteed to have the most views.
Hey, we got kings and we got an ace in the big blind. Could easily defend.
Has to defend, right? Like a must defend spot.
Ooh,
and
they got the ace magnets. That magnet is active. That's what they say.
So Nathaniel, at least, in some ways it's worse if it came 6-6-3, right? Because Nathaniel understands that ace is a really bad card and doesn't want to play a big pot now.
He does bet, though, interesting enough.
I imagine he's going to bet once to define the hand. That's another terrible card for Nathaniel.
Hoping for just a check on the river, and he gets to beat an 8 at this point.
Yeah, I think that's right. I guess if Leonardo checks, Nathaniel could decide to go for value, but it seems like really thin. But not impossible to go for value against an 8 specifically.
With Nathaniel's tightness, I think I would have preferred Leonardo to go for value versus checking and hoping that Nathaniel bluffs. I'm not expecting Nathaniel to bluff too much there.
Yeah, you're probably right. Big pot, though.
Yeah.
Didn't take much.
Ooh, and now Nathaniel,
here we go.
He's got a real hand.
He could shove this for sure. It's also reasonable to call.
Calling is absolutely a fine play here. And I think it's actually my preferred play.
I think so, too, because we're four-handed.
He does shove, though. Gonna get the bad
Obviously
news.
Getting called. Man, Pedro's just had so many big hands against worse hands. Not a good flop. It got some back doors, though.
Needs a king only now. Not the king of hearts.
Not the king of hearts either. 2 outs only. It's rough. That is not paint. That's an 8. Oh, it's a 3. Well, it ain't paint is the point. And
goodbye, says Pedro.
Pedro's loving this. Pedro's like, every time I say goodbye, I get more chips and I can make more money. This is amazing.
I mean, we're at serious money here. We're at now we're at 216K. That was 157K payout for Nathaniel.
Yeah.
Players are guaranteed over 200K. That's a nice day at the office, as they say.
Indeed. Christopher just shoves the 20 blinds, completely reasonable, especially as the short stack one with 3-handed.
Yeah, Christopher's gonna have to get boogie in here with these other 2 stacks. You can't really wait around for a big confrontation between them.
Yeah, he's laddered as much as he could, and once in a while he'll get lucky and there'll be a cooler. But basically, yeah, it's time to.
Ooh,
this is really unlucky. Is Pedro even going to raise?
He is.
He does raise.
Christopher, I expect a 3-bet from.
Yeah, me too.
I think you could flat.
You could flat here. It's dangerous, but if you want to win the tournament, flatting is probably the way to do it, right? This is a small enough raise, at least, that once in a while Pedro may come over the top of him there.
Yeah,
but not as a bluff, right?
Maybe you can get shoved on by hands like Ace-10 that might fold to a bigger raise.
Maybe. I don't know. Christopher hasn't 3-bet really at all. So.
True. Got 2 Brazilians here. We've been seeing a lot of Brazilians doing well at these final tables that we've been doing commentary on, including at least one winner that was Brazilian. A lot of people in Brazil.
Hey,
it's a straight.
that's a flop. I like that Leonardo starts betting right away with the 3 clubs out there.
Ooh, terrible
yep,
card.
Just a disaster.
Yeah.
He's lucky that Pedro has a jack. Pedro had like a bad queen that wasn't a club. Might get bluffed off this one, but Leonardo can't. Yeah, as I say, can't be thinking of going for value. Pedro could bluff, but there's no real reason to think you don't have the best hand. Right? Leonardo just completed pre.
I mean, you could definitely think you didn't have the best hand, but also think there's not a lot of value in bluffing.
Right. No, you're right. Of course. Like, of course, Pedro could have a club, and sorry, Leonardo could have like a small club or something. Ooh. Of course.
Now we're seeing Pedro flat out of the small blind with a 10-8 suited because they're deep. He gets a flop that could win him the hand if he decides. He's gonna have to turn into a bluff or improve, I guess.
Why would he do that?
Yeah.
He's trying not. These guys still don't want to play big pots against each other, of course. But open ender now for Pedro.
It's a good card.
But again, it's hard for any river to come that's going to be that's going to cause these guys to play a big pot. Pedro gets there.
Pedro does get there, but it's in the worst way.
Yeah. Will he go for value? He can go really small for value. 800K. 1.1.
I don't think you can call with kings here.
I don't think you should call. No. I like the fold. Like Pedro called on the flop. What's he supposed to have that he feels the need to value bet with, right?
He says, I'm so good. Good for him. Confidence.
And these guys go again. Well, the 8 of clubs is the most interesting card. But will Leonardo continue with just the 8 of clubs?
I'm going to go with no. I think this is going to be a fold.
Some real bad reverse implied odds here.
He does call.
Calls. Proves us all wrong. Checks again. That was a potential lead, by the way, for Leonardo that he turns down. Got to bet this, I think, as Leonardo, right?
Let's see if
just call and hope Jack High's good.
Let's see if he's tired of Pedro's crap.
Pedro should have a pretty straightforward call, though, with 2 8s.
I don't know if it's that straightforward.
You beat all the clubs, all the 1 club hands that called on the flop, right?
True.
There's a lot.
Leonardo could play aces like this, though. Plenty of aces.
Of course he could. Of course he could. But we can afford to be wrong. I think our hand is too good. We do have some aces that we check back on the turn, though, because the 4 came. And he does fold.
I think I understand the fold a little more than you might agree with.
Yeah. I'm usually calling there. But I don't really ever fold anything, in fairness.
No, you don't.
Oh.
You've played too much limit hold'em to ever fold.
You know. Try bluffing me. That's what I say. Sharks 55 likes it. Likes a call there as well. Christopher could decide to call here and really gamble, but probably has too many chips to do it.
I very much don't expect it with over 20 bigs still. You have so much fold equity for better spots. You don't need to call it off with ace-9.
You don't expect Pedro is like doing this with like king queen. He hasn't shown a big propensity to be shoving in these spots so far. You do have a pretty good hand. I'd want to be like 2 pips better. I think ace jack we probably have to call.
I agree.
Ace 10 suited maybe. Ace 10 suited probably. Ace 9 off feels like just not good enough.
I wouldn't have called there either. The chat seems to expect that a lot of people call there. I almost never call in that spot.
You need to, the guy needs to be a bit of a maniac. He
Yeah.
needs to be running people over to call there profitably, I think. Now, this is a great time to shove in. Indeed, he does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that preserved fold equity. You just get it all right back.
Yeah, and Pedro's been making this play, unlike the other one, this play constantly from small blind to big blind, right?
Thorpe was thinking it was the 800K big blind. Makes sense.
That certainly it's a call then.
Yes.
But Pedro clearly now just in cruise control, going to raise most hands and put the onus on everybody else to figure it out.
It's an effective strategy. We've seen it before.
Yep.
Chris Slinker asks, is the shark cage under the Thunderdome? I mean, clearly it's under it's under the Grundle Dome, not the Thunderdome. Grundle Dome.
Grundle Dome. Is that a thing?
Don't worry about it.
It's something to do with the butt, isn't it? the human butt. I'm not a dummy. All right, so Leonardo, his turn to bully the short stack.
Is there any way to hide our faces? Yes. Are we disturbing you with our faces?
Just take a Post-it note and put it where the faces are. You're good, bro. All right, Pedro flops well. Leonardo gets out. No cooler. The butt. It's not a weird thing to just say. Wow, Leonardo.
Ooh, it's gonna work out.
This hand is pretty interesting.
Ooh, but he just calls and it's a bad flop.
Probably has to call once, assuming it's a small bet here.
Yep.
Yeah, this is a call. Call once and check fold most turns, unless you turn a draw. Well, he turned a draw.
So did Pedro.
They both turned a draw. Pedro might feel emboldened to fire again. Could try and get a jack to fold. But does not.
Check it back and now picks up a little bit of showdown value, but not really that much against a check call, which is at least diamonds some of the time, and now diamonds got there.
Yeah, it's hard to think of any hand that you're beating except like a tiny pocket pair. Pocket fives that check calls the flop. That's it. Pedro liked it. I will give Pedro credit. He does, acknowledge good plays and when people beat him too. Brad, you're allowed to cover our faces if you want to. Don't worry about it. I often want to cover Grant's face. Sorry, Grant.
I often want to cover
I don't mean that in a bad way.
I often want to cover your face with a swarm of bees so that you receive physical pain from the bees.
You know I'm allergic to bee stings, so you know it would kill me, right?
That would be kind of funny. Haha.
I mean, it probably would be a funny way to die, anaphylactic shock, but it is weird that that's what you would choose. I would never choose something like that for you.
Yeah, that's true.
I would want to cover your face in nails. Not like painfully, not with a hammer, just like lay them on your face while you're sleeping.
Like an artistic,
so just like a little bit of
artistic expression, like something Shia LaBeouf might do. Anyway,
it's just a little bit of weight. Okay, Leonardo does catch enough of this flop to continue. And there's diamonds for Pedro.
Good turn card.
Will he fire again? Leonardo could lead also, but chooses not to. And he gets there. Oh, this is gonna be hard to see for Leonardo.
Yeah, when Pedro doesn't fire the turn, I think against this guy you kind of have to call.
Yeah. Let's see how he sizes it. Now that he has a really big hand for once, let's see if he goes big, because usually he's been betting kind of small. Like third pot. Yeah, now he goes really big. Now you can actually consider folding. And he does. Do you think that would make you want to fold more or less, that big sizing?
More.
Because it certainly could be a bluff, right? But you could just have like the king of diamonds in his hand. Why are you laughing? Something else happened.
There's Shia LaBeouf stuff going on, which makes me happy because that guy is a national treasure.
Apparently he's going to be in the MCU.
I believe Sharts that the king 3 was targeting an ace, but hoping to get heroed by a jack as well. How many runners were in this tournament? Asks Angelo Valadez. There were over 1,000 players, but not a lot more than 1,000.
Yeah, like 1063, I think, something like that. Yeah, targeting a deuce, targeting an ace, once in a while a jack. Get heroed.
Yeah, I expected that from Christopher. The blinds have gone up, so that was not that big of a shove, and Pedro's been opening a ton.
Absolutely. I mean, Christopher just has to decide, basically take every spot right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, these guys are trying to play careful against each other. I mean, in some ways it plays into their hands, right? Take every spot, eventually bust, and then we get heads up. But once in a while...
Should Pedro 3-bet every time Leonardo opens right now? I think that might be a really good strategy. Maybe you can fold the very worst hands.
Yeah, I don't think every time. But I agree with you that should be a strategy he should be employing at this point. I think it's a really good idea.
We get the check there, and I don't think Pedro can continue. Interesting that Pedro checked. Whoa, And he calls the turn.
Calls.
River's a 3.
I mean, it looks like he's got a jack or a deuce when he plays it like that, right? Or spades. All the things that are beating Leonardo. Oh, but Pedro makes the 3, so he doesn't bluff
Yeah,
it.
it goes check.
That's
What do you
really
think about
unlucky.
Pedro checking back that flop? I know that Leonardo is supposed to have more deuces, but it's a super dry board, and he doesn't have that many more deuces. If he really does have more deuces,
I think you're probably right. It seems like a mistake, mainly also because of the ICM pressure you can put on him. You should be betting every flop, right?
Yeah.
Every time it's checked to you, every time you have the initiative, you should be betting because there's a guy with,
Ooh, look at
7
this
million
flop
over
for
there.
Leonardo. Unfortunately for him, he's got opponents without flopping well. Christopher, of course, not enjoying this flop too much against 2 opponents with ace king.
There's a lot of good turn cards though for Leonardo's opponents: clubs, spades, kings, aces.
That's not one of them.
I assume he's going to bet tiny, and it's just going to get through though.
Don't listen. Don't give advice on cryptocurrency, Jonathan. It's a
lot
really
of
bad.
advice.
It's a really bad idea to give advice on the stream
So much
on cryptocurrency
so
and
much
impact
crypto
people's
advice.
finances. Anyway, Pedro is drawing
so
dead and he's betting, and this is not the card that Leonardo wanted to see. Pedro could win this hand now.
A big bet.
Oh, he checks it
but
back.
he checks. He could have gone for the over bet. And maybe he's hoping that he got, a 4 got counterfeited. Look at him, yeah. If he goes for the over bet, he probably gets it through.
Oh, absolutely. How can you call?
Malt Liquor Ho really wants crypto help.
This is not the time.
Yeah. Not now, but another time we'll talk crypto. I got a lot to say.
Leonardo has taken the chip lead. But how can he fold, Grant? Well, because it was a bad run-up. But thank you for the nice little trigger for talking about our book, How Can He Fold? There's a link to it in the description of this thing. It's a fun book. We wrote it.
Can we notice that Pedro did not raise from the small blind for the first time forever and has a really good hand?
Didn't flop much.
No, it feels like Christopher. Christopher had a terrible hand, but may have picked up on that too. It's possible Christopher's checking that back no matter what. Oh, and calls here. Wow. Well, Christopher's got a great chance to win this pot. I guess 2 backdoor float on the flop. Really, really ugly 2 backdoor float.
Just deciding I need to find some floats against this guy, so I'll do it with the 2 backdoors. And this is he's getting looked up.
Bad backdoors.
He's getting looked up.
Is he
going to go
fire
for
again? Will he fire again?
What sizing do you go with if you fire again? Do you go all in? Do you bet like 2 million?
Yes. I think it's all in or forget about it. You got to claim a 10 here and go for all of it and try and get a 4 or 6 to fold. Christopher hasn't made a play like this, so I think an all-in would work against some of those hands.
It is an all-in. And a quick fold from Pedro. Nicely played by Christopher. It's nice when he insta-folds. You don't have to worry about it. Oh, Pedro deciding, let's play post-flop a little bit.
Really?
Gonna limp now.
Interesting. Christopher with oh my goodness. I guess it's not so crazy.
No, he's just not letting Pedro do. He's not letting Pedro do what he wants to do, which is like ensure that he doesn't get shoved on by Christopher.
Right. It's like, cool, there's an extra blind in there. I was going to shove anyway. Right. Well, Christopher's kind of battled back to being a little bit of a threat now.
Yeah.
He can really hurt either player.
Ooh, we got the nuts here for Leonardo. Pedro
nothing. Well, I guess a gutter.
Yeah,
he's pot too.
Unlucky that Pedro had really nothing there.
Yeah, it would have taken a very small bet. So let's see what Pedro does with 6s. He limped the ace-jack. He could just move in. Moving in is probably better than limping here. You'd hate to be moved in on with 6s.
That's what he does.
I like that play better. And again, the limp with the ace-8.
Interesting strategy. We're seeing something develop here for Pedro.
Yeah, let's see if he keeps this up with really high quality hands.
Christopher making the prudent 5-6 suited fold. Try not to get too involved with a speculative hand at this point.
You see
Pedro
that?
just flats the flop with the jack high. Leonardo gets the beautiful turn card if he just knew he would check.
You should check. But when you get called on that board, it's understandable to bet again, right?
Well, does Pedro have
Pedro-
multi-street plans here? He does. He calls
calls.
again, and then he rivers the
Wow.
4. I wonder.
He's got to be planning on taking this away from Leonardo with a
Ooh,
raise,
pot
right?
size bet. If he shoves,
That's
can
got to change all your plans.
Yeah, he folds. Okay.
I mean, if Pedro shoves, I think Leonardo's going to call because he's got a good enough kicker that he's going to decide sometimes he might be beating some of the value.
Yeah. It's not a great spot.
And
if
also,
you
you
get
got to
shoved
call.
out.
You got to call with something, right? I mean, you just don't have very many full houses on that board.
That's true.
So
That's true. But so that doesn't stop people from
Jack is-
folding sometimes.
that is very true. Also, you're right. Brad Howard asked if we still have the gig with jerky. We do not. It was a short-lived gig. Sorry to say.
Got a lot of free beef jerky
Bad.
out of it, though.
We got a lot of free beef jerky, and it was pretty tasty. Grant likes it more than me, but it was good. Yeah, Pedro is clearly deciding he wants to try and outplay Leonardo, but so far, all that's happened with that is Leonardo's taking the chip lead as a result, you know?
Is Pedro going to limp this hand? He is. He is limping the button. This is... And he's flopping a set against top pair.
Well, if there's no heart on the turn, if it's a baby card on the turn, there it is. That's the
Ooh.
kind of card.
That's a bad card for Leonardo.
Pedro definitely going to bet this again,
Yeah.
right? Just has to bet this again. And Leonardo, I don't see how he can fold. Just has to call.
Against Pedro, of course you have to call.
Like 100%.
All right,
But
he
that
might be
card's
saved.
Bail him out.
He's saved by this card.
Pedro's
Hey-
probably going to go really big, hoping Leonardo has a heart, but
Yep.
it's
That's-
not going to work
That's
out.
the move. That's the move you should make. You just hope
Yeah.
he's got a big heart that he can't fold.
Got like 4.4 million or something. Hope he has the.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. Hope he has the Queen of Hearts and just feels like he has to call. But still, that was a chunky little pot.
These Pedro versus Leonardo battles are pretty fun.
They are. Pedro's really going for it. Hard not to love it.
Billy Jeans asks how much of a delay is it? It's 30 minutes.
Billy Jeans, that's a pretty great name.
Like the Michael Jackson song.
Yeah, Billy Jeans is not my lover.
Is Billy Jeans just somebody who's really into jeans? It's a large jeans
No, she's
collection.
She's just a girl who claims that
I am the one.
But, you know, kid is not my son. Oh, Dean Eggs bubbled the double stack, this event.
This is the
Okay,
double
actually,
stack.
there were a lot of huge big names left in this tournament with about 100 left, and
Mhm.
none of them made it to the final 14 or whatever that we've been doing. But
Ooh, a set
there's
now
a set
for Pedro, but nothing for Leonardo.
It's going to take the ace of diamonds, excuse me, on the river to get any real chips out of him, and now probably nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, Steven Chidwick
Pedro-
was second in chips with about 50 players left, but quickly went away.
Another interesting flop here. Gut shots for both players. Backdoor for and it's coming in so far for Leonardo. It's a
Pretty
potential
standard-
check raise spot.
Pretty standard check back there on the turn from Pedro.
Yeah. Will Leonardo bluff? No, thinks king high is maybe good enough.
It is not this time.
Yeah. I'm not sure if Pedro's really going to check turn and river with a hand that king high is beating very often. Probably a little bit, but
Well, Leonardo
usually
didn't know that he had checked yet. I don't think there. So
no. But
I'll
I'm
revert.
saying with king high, when
yeah,
if you don't bluff it, you have to be willing to call. Maybe he was willing to call though with the king high.
might have been. I mean, it is Pedro,
Yeah.
the limping machine. Pedro.
Indeed. An open-ender and gut shot and overs. And now open-ender for Pedro as well. Chips could go in. These guys are not playing big pots against each other. Leonardo makes the bad end of the straight. This is going to check. Nope, Pedro is going for value. Going to be only a little sad. More tips. This is amazing.
Isan is too generous.
2 pints of ice cream.
Too generous,
2 pints
this
of
guy.
ice cream now.
Do you think Daniel Negreanu will ever win a bracelet in this WSOP 2020? No.
Well, we're running out of events is the thing.
Yeah.
There aren't that many left. There's like 3 weeks left, so the odds have got to be pretty strongly against him at that point.
Yep.
Malt Liquor Host says, Grant, I think I like your face better when it's pixelated. I'm just gonna feel no need to comment on that. Hey,
That's
here we go.
true
Pocket pair versus pocket pair.
That's true
Christopher's
of
in trouble.
all 10 out of 10 people.
Look at this. Christopher might get away with this now.
Oh, because Pedro
decided to
changed his
raise.
strategy. Changed it. Well, I think the sevens might still overshove. It's possible.
But I don't think they will. I think they're going to be really aware that Pedro hasn't raised in a million years on the button and finally chooses to. Yeah. See?
That worked
Christopher
out.
got so lucky.
That worked out really well for Christopher, yeah.
Wow. Well, this could do it too. Nah, I guess sixes aren't going to call a big raise here if Christopher does a big one.
You mean an all-in?
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
I don't know.
that's what
Sixes
I mean.
they could.
It's half his stack. It's gonna if he loses, I don't think he's gonna do it, but he could. How much is he going for the win? How much is he going for the ladder? We're gonna learn right now.
This is a genuinely close spot.
If it's eights, you have to go with it.
Yeah.
Right. I think ace nine, you probably have to go with it too. Eights, ace nine, something
Does
like that.
fold.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, me too. It's fair. It's a fair fold. Sevens is to me the real tough one. That's the super tough spot. 15 blinds. Big flop for Christopher, but nothing for Pedro.
But Pedro might just fire away, even if Christopher gets there.
Yep.
He kind of gets
Well,
there,
they
but
both-
Pedro
they
Pedro
both
makes a
improve.
gut shot.
Yeah. Pedro checks now, interestingly enough. I guess on an ace queen board, he figures he doesn't have much fold equity, and he is right.
I do not see too much value in betting for Christopher, and he agrees.
Yeah. So as Pedro could take a shot, but 10 high might be good. Will Christopher not bluff, though? It's just hard to know. Doesn't matter. Christopher has a pair. Billie Jean says the two Brazilians should team up and go heads up. Share the spoils 50-50. I mean, if they know each other, they get heads up, they could be texting each other that they're going to split it, and that's possible. Gutter versus open-ender, and once again, these guys are playing carefully against each other here. Isan is just
Going a little nuts there.
just filling the coffers here. Where do you get that $25 ice cream in Portland? Well, it's half. I'm only getting half of the 25, so it's $12.50 ice cream. And yes, it's still very expensive. It's true, but it's the price of convenience. Isan, middle pair for Pedro.
Pedro's going into check call mode, it looks like. Good
Big
card
turn
for
card for
Christopher to
Christopher.
continue on. I expect Christopher to continue, or I think he should at the very least.
Mm. I mean, you could have hit the queen. You can have a big hand. You can have a set of sixes. You can have an overpair.
You don't have to bet huge here. You can bet something like 2.2 million. Set up a shove on the river.
You really don't want to get shoved on, but them's the breaks. You got to take a shot.
Ooh, he
at this
just
pot. Wow,
goes
he
for
just-
it. Pedro
that
doesn't
did work.
consider it. Yeah.
That was interesting. I think I agree with you. I think I like the small bet better. Probably works almost as well.
Not much for anybody here.
So apparently, folks are talking about how Daniel busted on the bubble of this event, and apparently he was furious. We know what a furious Daniel Negreanu looks like these days too. It ain't pretty. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
It's tank top. It's a lot of swearing.
It is those
Faces.
things.
stuff like this.
Hey, look at this. We got action heading to the turn. Bet and a call on the flop.
Hey, if Pedro doesn't win this hand, he's going to be third in chips out of 3, which we haven't seen anything like. He's just been always doing great. He's been smooth sailing, but this is probably going to do it.
It does.
Pedro is in last place.
Wow. Weird. Doesn't feel right. And we're on break.
Billie Jean's asked if we play poker too. In fact, we do. We have a podcast called the Breakdown Poker Podcast where we analyze hands. We are 2, I'm going to call us ex-professional poker players at this point. We don't play too much. I mean, especially just since the pandemic.
Yeah, since our job is being the poker guys now, we get to make a living that way. But certainly we're professional poker players when we started the poker guys. And
I mean, I'll tell you honestly, like this year up until the pandemic, I was playing twice a week and seeing that as like really nice additional income. But it wasn't the same as like I'm a professional player. It's my job. Well, Liquor Ho, right back into the crypto questions. I don't think Grant's going to let me answer crypto questions on the stream. He's worried about us getting sued for financial advice. But I have a lot to say. Shorts 55 asks if we still coach. We do. We absolutely still coach. If you're interested, just send us an email. I don't even know what our email is anymore. You can tweet at us. Just tweet at us. It's fine. We can easily get in touch with you. How many tournaments have we won is the question. Well, Roy, Grant used to play a tournament every day locally and won a cajillion of them.
Yeah, I won a lot of small tournaments.
Yeah.
I haven't won any bracelets. I have final table the bracelet event. Yep.
Grant has a better tournament resume than I do, but I've certainly done reasonably well in tournaments also. But Gene says we seem pretty chill, and you know what? I'm going to take that as a compliment.
Of course, it's a compliment. Thank you. Thank you, Billie Jeans. Yeah.
Billie Jeans. What else we got up here? I'm just going through the just mass of comments. Ragged Jack's giving folks ideas. That's from a while ago here. So, all right. Grant is maybe taking a quick break so we can talk crypto for a second. Oh,
I'm here. I can hear
Damn
everything.
It. I'll just say one thing. Because the question was, what do you got on Cosmos? I'm a fan. Just say I'm a fan for sure. I'm not a holder yet, but I'm planning on being one at some point, probably. Poker guys, were you in Russia? I've never been in Russia. I'm sure Grant has never been in Russia. That guy doesn't travel at all. He never gets out of the frickin' house.
I have traveled more than you have recently, Levy.
But in general, who's traveled?
Probably you. You're older than me.
Yeah. Also, I used to travel for my job. Do we ever swing through Reno? Asked James Bonderchuk. Well, we did that one time when we played in Tahoe, which isn't really swinging through Reno, but it's close, right? They're really
drove near Reno. And I've driven through Reno. We drove through Reno when we drove from Portland to Vegas, which I wouldn't necessarily advise doing if you live in Portland or anywhere that is equidistant from Vegas as Portland. It's a long drive.
Sharts 55 says, what's the chance? Oh, chances of a Dan Shack impression. Well, now they're really high.
I'd say they're pretty high. Sharts, I'd say there's a good chance that Dan's gonna come on the stream here. Hey, Jonathan. Shack's a fact or Shack's a crap? In the year 1898, the first ant was ever born in Arizona. Before that, can you believe it? There was never an ant born in Arizona before 1898. Shack's a fact or Shack's a crap?
I'm going to go with Shack's a crap on that one. I don't believe that's
You got it. You're right. This is an excellent job by Jonathan on the first Shack's a fact of the year 2020. Congratulations.
Yes, 1-0.
Young man.
Great.
Congratulations, young man. Have a dollar.
Answering more questions. Pep Keep says the 80s movie, The Legend of Billie Jean, is great. I believe Helen Slater starred in that in her big breakout role and is not a bad movie. I agree. What do you guys think of Mike Postle? Asked Billie Jeans. You know, we're deeply unimpressed with Mike Postle and everything. It really sucks that guy exists and that it looks like he's going to get away with keeping the money. I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be some other kinds of vengeance taken down on him by people whose money he has, but we'll see. Who knows? What else we got here? What advice would you give to a micro stakes player wanting to move up levels? Dan Hote, is that in cash or in tournaments? Because it's different stuff.
I mean, the best advice to any player who's trying to move up is don't try to move up too quickly. Like, don't ever put yourself in a position where you could lose more money than you feel comfortable losing, because in those situations, not only can it hurt your life, but also you're not going to play as well because you're going to make decisions based on the wrong reasons.
I mean, a lot of it too is having someone to talk poker with. I mean, being a student of the game, having resources. Honestly, our book, How Can He Fold, is a really good tournament resource. It's an okay cash resource, but all we're talking is tournament hands. There's a lot of resources out there, of course, both on YouTube, books, podcasts. We make a podcast twice a week. We have videos that come out twice a week. But so do a lot of other people you could use. But having someone to actually talk poker with and talk your hands over with is really important, because once in a while, Grant and I will be at the same table, and one of us will say to the other. I remember doing this in a tournament one time where I said, so yeah, there's nothing I could do about that Jack's hand, right? This is like 6 years ago. I still remember this. And Grant said, oh, that was terrible. That was terrible that you called there. I was like, really? He was like, horrible. And I really thought about it. I was like, I think he's right. And have, like, made that adjustment in my game. And like having someone who you trust, respect, and can really, and feels comfortable saying the truth to you, really useful in poker. And if you don't have that, it's much harder to get better fast.
Absolutely. That's very true. And there's a little bit of luck in that, of course, because you don't always have access to somebody like that. We've both been fortunate to have a lot of quality poker playing friends to bounce ideas off of for our entire poker playing lives. And looks like we're going to be back to this three-handed action.
Sounds good to me. Let's see. Pedro now as the short stack, barely, admittedly. This is basically anyone's game now. Christopher's really clawed back into this.
And still shoving over Pedro's opens. It's a decent chunk of change at this point, with Pedro's effective stack with over 20 bigs.
But 20 bigs or so is a reasonable 3-bet.
Yeah. Out of position, especially. Any advice that doesn't involve talking to Grant? Who is this guy? I don't know who this guy is, but he doesn't like me very much. That makes me upset because I want everybody to like me.
What? Brad Howard, you're my boy. I like Brad Howard. Yeah. Any advice that doesn't involve talking to Grant is pretty. Well, I did talk about different books and things like that. And so apparently MTV, Dan Hode mentioned, like, honestly, our book is a great tournament resource. Another really good tournament resource. By the way, we've got a three-way hand here with, we'll talk about tournament resource in a second. Let's watch this hand play out. It checks through, and Leonardo may think he has the best hand now.
I would expect him to think that. I would expect him to think that when it checks through on the flop.
Pedro would be checking back better kings, but still, there aren't that many kings left in the deck. He could bet for value here, or protection, really. Not really value as much as protection. Time for Pedro to start betting, though, I think.
He does. I can't imagine Leonardo folding.
It would seem crazy to fold.
Club
and
might
Pedro has
kill stuff for Leonardo here.
Yeah, Pedro with the ace of clubs and aces up has a pretty clear value bet, but tough for Leonardo to call. He does have the king of clubs in his hand. Could embolden him to either call or make a play at this if he thinks he's losing. But probably he'll just find a fold, right?
He does. Brad Howard's been redeemed by his own words.
Yeah, what happened, Brad Howard? You went from the coolest guy in school to just another traitor.
You wouldn't know the coolest guy in school if he spat on you, which he probably did.
Well, how would I? I wouldn't be able to, confirm or deny it, apparently. So Pedro now, as the short stack, flats with the ace
still
five
trying
out of
to play post flop a lot more than his opponents when they're short.
Yeah. Don't know if I love that flat with the ace five and the small blind there. I don't, in fact, that stack size. But Pedro has been making things work. And there's the limp.
He's still doing it, even when he's the short stack. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Flops open-ended.
Pretty well. Christopher Plummer with top pair. I guess it's not Christopher Plummer. It's an actor.
Yeah.
But Christopher Purtz.
They reshot a movie with him instead of Kevin Spacey in the middle of it, right?
Yeah.
Kevin Spacey
all the money in the world.
Yeah.
And not only that, Christopher Plummer was nominated, I think, and maybe even won the Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actor. And
there's the straight for
second
Pedro.
nuts. The fact that it's a queen and not a 7 may bail Christopher out of putting too many more chips in this pot. How are you going to size this, Grant?
I think I keep it relatively small. Smaller than that, I think.
Yeah, Pedro goes more than half pot, and it's over.
Same hand for Pedro. A little better, suited.
Christopher just folds queen 2 suited on the button. Color me a little surprised.
Leonardo gets the jack high flush draw and takes it down. Queens now for Christopher, not Plummer.
Because you just have to raise it.
Just don't shove it. It's too much.
Yeah, just a nice normal raise.
There you go.
That's fine. It's not going to matter in this case, but that's the right size. You could even go a little smaller because the blinds are so big, but 2.5x is fine too, but whatever.
Billie Jean says these limps are weak. I actually kind of disagree in this case. I think they're actually a sign of strength and confidence. Pedro believes he has a post-flop edge and wants to maximize that by being deeper stack-to-pot ratio-wise.
He's trying to avoid this exact thing happening too, where he opens and gets shoved on. He thinks he's like neutralizing, but he clearly isn't. Christopher's just shoving on him anyway. So, it isn't working as well as he wants. He's been shoved on at least 3 or 4 times in this spot. Well, not a cooler flop, but some chips are going to be lost.
Ooh, that's a bad turn card for Pedro.
My. What a turn card.
Can't fold if you're Pedro, obviously.
No chance. I think he's just trying to take a long time to make me a deuce on the river, but it isn't going to matter because Leonardo's going to bet for value, right? You just have to bet. What do you think, 4 million? Something like that? Or maybe too much.
He goes for all of it. This might not work out.
Too much.
I think Pedro's going to find a fold now, yeah. Oof. Ambitious, but maybe a little bit too ambitious. Now, I could be proven wrong. Pedro could talk himself into a call here.
I mean, if you're Pedro, you should at least take your time with this one, right? This is a time to use a minute or two, I think, and really think about it. You do have top pair.
He does fold.
But you're hoping that Pedro made a worse 2 pair. That's like what you can really get called by.
We have a bit of a cooler here. 6s against 10s now. 6s might find a fold.
I mean, I think Christopher's been wielding the hammer, you know? So he's just been going all in these spots. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't think Leonardo's going to call. Yeah.
No, he just folds quickly. Brett Howard asks, why not limp all day every day? I assume in response to why I am kind of being okay with Pedro limping, which he's still doing. This I don't know about at this point, but
I mean, the hands are pretty interesting here. Let's just get back to Brett Howard in a second. Let's watch how Christopher plays this.
He moves it again.
Goodness. So he's moving him for 30 blinds, but he's the chip. No, he's not the chip leader. Wow. No, you can't move him for 30 blinds there. I think it's too much.
No, that seems like a bit much. Ooh, well, we're getting it in here.
Yep. I think Christopher should be just making it like a 3.5, 4x raise. It's okay to get it in with Pedro, and that's what he should be looking to do. Anyway, Pedro clearly has these. Yeah, here we go.
All right, a flip. Good flop for 8s.
Flop.
Bad turn.
It's hard now. Christopher's about to be the chip leader.
Well, it was a fun run to watch Pedro play and change up his strategy. I'm a little sad to see him go. He was doing some interesting stuff.
That said, it's pretty cool to watch Christopher sort of dig his way out of the mud and get all the way up to now chip leading with heads up. They've locked up almost $300,000. They're playing for another $101,000 right now. That is pretty sweet. And they're not wildly deep, but they're deep-ish. Right? We're 40 blinds effective here.
That's pretty deep for heads up.
Yeah.
In most tournament scenarios, you don't find yourself 40 blinds effective heads up.
Christopher's been mostly just doing the all-in, but he should not be doing that now. They're just too deep for stuff like that.
Yes, I agree.
Shoving here would be a bad move, but he
does.
Ooh. That's dangerous.
This might be might be kind of a fast heads up match if this is the strategy.
Yeah. Like, if he's going to shove just all his reasonable medium-type hands, all it takes is one time for Leonardo to have a good hand, and he gets the full double and cripples Christopher.
Leonardo outflops Christopher in this hand.
Wow, he shoved 40 blinds over a min raise. That's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a really, really big.
And when you're heads up, like you're gonna get some more marginal calls too. You know, like you're not gonna fold out ace nine often heads up. Maybe for 40 blinds the first time, but like eventually ace nine's gonna start calling there.
Billie Jean says 709K for the winner. That's a lot. That is not the winning prize. That is the total prizes of second and first. First place is in fact 399K.
Yeah. That
So
would
they're
have been
playing
a lot,
for 100K between the two of them.
Yep.
100K difference.
There are no deals. No deals in the World Series. So they're actually playing for it right now. Someone soon will win another $101,000 and the bracelet. Pretty good combo. What's the GTO 30x 3-bet range? It's a 40x is the problem, Brad Howard. But top pair now for Leonardo, but nothing for Christopher. I think 30x is like the very, very edge of the 3-bet shove range, or like the most you could do, and it's only against particular opponents even. And probably with only certain parts of your range even.
Christopher is not folded yet. He calls with jack high.
I don't know what's going on.
What?
All right, I'm officially saying I think Leonardo's a favorite, even though he has less chips. I'm calling it. That is a really surprising call with jack high.
The hand didn't play it in such a way that you could put him on an exact hand that you beat either, it doesn't seem like.
Doesn't seem like.
Christopher is definitely pedal to the metal, though. He's just 3-betting the queen deuce. Didn't shove, notably. Same effective stack as with the fours.
Yeah, I think that's really notable. But he's probably not going to shove like aces and kings either, right? But still, he's probably going to have a lot more crappy 3-bets than for that sizing. Hey, by the way, look at this. We got a flush draw against bottom two.
Bottom two. You're right. This could be a big one, especially if Leonardo plays it fast.
If he plays it fast right now, Christopher's going to 3-bet. Actually, might shut Leonardo out because Christopher his one move seems to be the shove over the raise.
Yeah, I kind of expect a shove, and bottom two is like the ultimate shove hand anyway.
Yeah, and Leonardo's not going to be getting a good enough price to call. He's going to get shut out of this pot, assuming Christopher does the shove, which seems like he's definitely going to do it. It feels like he's really going to do it.
I would bet heavily on that side.
There it is.
Yeah, you can't call now with a 7-9 flush draw. Just can't do it.
That's really unlucky for Leonardo. That's the worst, man. You make the raise and get shut out with your flush draw. That just sucks.
And blinds are up now.
Will Christopher shove this too? Christopher now can shove some of these hands more effectively.
That would have been a more reasonable shove than the fours because it's just for 20 blinds.
Yep. And having the king blocker is nice. Leonardo checks back, maybe because he's afraid of just getting shoved on a lot now. He just wants to have it. It's not a terrible plan against Christopher.
He can also bluff catch with this hand. It's good enough to bluff catch with later if he doesn't improve.
That's a really fair point. Probably is just going to go check, check. Maybe.
Nope.
Christopher bets 1 blind. Wow, this may be a genius bet. Nope. Never mind.
If he got called, that would have been incredible.
Yeah.
Well, this could easily just be a shove for Leonardo. Could just do a normal raise and hope Christopher 3-bet shoves. And that's what he's doing here.
I like that play way better than shoving. Yeah. Christopher seems to be making really big shoves repeatedly. Like giving him a chance to do that when you have a hand seems like it's got to be the play.
I agree.
Billie Jean says, if Leonardo finishes second, I have to eat my words and donate $10 to charity. That's like a bit of a double whammy.
And how does one eat their words?
That's a powerful question.
It's a question for philosophers. I'm not qualified. Maybe James Bondarchuk knows ethically how you do it.
Mr. betting middle pair, taking it down. And he's got a 2-1 lead here. Things are looking good. And I got to believe another shove is incoming.
Yep.
There it is.
That was predictable.
He is what a Mike Sexton would call, say, this guy is an MIS, Vince. Vance. He's a move-in specialist.
Is that one of? Is that a sextonism? I don't think I've heard that one.
Yeah. Yeah, he did it for this one guy, actually a dentist, who he made a lot of puns about the guy's job, of course. But it was this amateur dentist player who just moved in every time. Anytime he put a chip in the pot, he was moving in no matter what.
Whenever you do a Mike Sexton impersonation, he's always talking about a dentist. Every time. Yeah. You always do dentist.
Not always, but usually. That's my default one because it's so easy to say, the dentist is going to extract some value on this one, Vance. It's just so good. Top pair here for Christopher. I think I like a check here. What do you think? With the queen.
Yep, I like it.
The 9 is like exactly the wrong card to bet. Now Leonardo might go to deny some equity. Yeah. Wow.
Good card.
Well, if Christopher finds a bet here, he might get looked up. He can't bet too much though.
He has a chance.
2.3 million, he might get looked up. That feels like too much, but we'll see. Nope, gets looked up. Wow. Leonardo is in trouble, and I may have to eat those words. We'll have to figure out how to do it because it's 40 million to 12 million.
Yep. And it's 7 deuce. It's going to be a fold.
Everything is going Christopher's way.
We got a limp from Christopher. He was trying to get it in there. Just didn't work out.
Yeah. Well, Leonardo got the free look at the flop. At least that's nice.
Probably a shove here.
Yeah, I think so.
No, he limps.
Wow. Interesting.
Willing to get it in, not as interested in the fold equity, I guess. But now he's flopped a gut shot, and Christopher has flopped a pair. Oh, and he gets there.
How about that? Christopher only has an ace or a jack to get out of this one, but may not be paying off anyway if Leonardo bets again. Right? You can't beat anything.
Seems like it was limped pre-flop. You could convince yourself that Leonardo's just taking a shot. That's going to make it even harder to get paid.
Yeah, that's a really, really bad card for Leonardo. Like maybe a deuce of clubs, he can get another bet street of value in. I guess Leonardo's just going to shove it, but it's not going to.
Seems like the most likely.
Not going to get called. Well, you may be annoyed by the river, Leonardo, but the turn was pretty good.
Yeah.
So you'll take it.
Christopher giving it some thought.
I mean, he surprised us. He did surprise with that jack high call. I mean, Leonardo is repping a pretty strong range here, right? He's repping a straight. I guess trip ace is at the absolute worst and probably a straight.
Yeah, and maybe not even trip aces. Maybe not even trip aces. It's close.
Maybe not, but maybe, but maybe not. So that's a pretty thin value range for a hand that didn't raise pre. You know?
Christopher's going to let himself think it through. It's fair. You could win the tournament right here if you call on your right.
He might find a call. I think because this is such a polarizing spot, and it seems hard for Leonardo to have. I guess he can have tens and weird spades, like baby spades. It's hard for him too much else.
He does fold.
Christopher does find the fold. More work to be done, but Leonardo needed that one.
Christopher trying to sneak in the limp with the 3-10 off there. Could just fold that at this effective stack depth. You don't really need to enter the pot there.
I think it plays better as a fold or a raise,
certainly
than a limp. Unless you're limping everything. Unless you have a 100% limping strategy, that's fine, I guess. But we haven't seen that. We've definitely seen Christopher raise a lot free.
Interesting flop. Open ender and a pair with a gut shot. Somehow goes check, check.
Time for Leonardo to start betting, I guess.
Yeah.
It's an easy call.
Does he take a shot? And will it work?
It might work if he swings big enough. Although Christopher has been pretty sticky. But
He almost
I mean,
called with
Leonardo
Jack 6. Yeah, Leonardo doesn't take
Yeah.
a shot. And I wouldn't either if I had somehow known that Christopher had Jack 6 in that last hand. I'd be like, oh, I'm not
Yeah.
taking a shot against that guy.
Like you could have trip 4s pretty easily though. Like, as played. That's the one good news about it for Leonardo. I guess Christopher could too though.
Yeah.
So I think Leonardo's strategy now is just let's keep the pots small until I really have a hand and let this guy pay me off in all the ways he might pay me off, either with too many shoves. Look at this, by the way. Wow.
It's the nut low.
This is a reasonable hand to decide to turn into a shove. I don't know that Leonardo's going to decide that, but it is reasonable.
There are better hands for it, but you could do it with that.
You do have some blocking. You're suited,
Just
which gives you a little
folds.
something extra to go.
Would have expected at least a call there. It was 3x.
Yeah. Oh man, Christopher's got to be feeling his oats right now when he raises the deuce 3 off and gets it through over the limp button.
There's an 8 for Leonardo here. Considering a raise, perhaps?
That would be surprising.
Yeah.
Just something we haven't seen. It's an unusual player to decide to take that tact against. This is the
he
kind
just
of player
folded.
I don't understand that at all.
What just happened?
I don't know what's going on. It feels like
That was-
capitulation.
That was the most shocking thing I have seen during the entire time we've been streaming this World Series for
Certainly this table.
5 or 6 events, I mean. Like, over all the events. That fold?
It's right up there.
Oh,
may have
we
seen a
got
few
it all in here.
well, good spot for Leonardo, but a deuce will end this.
So far, no deuce. Deuce and a
3
deuce.
outs for the bracelet.
only.
6 for the chop. 3 for the chop.
Billie Jean says, I think he folded by mistake. That's the best theory.
Yeah.
I mean, how could you fold against this player with middle pair heads up? Has to be a mistake.
Yeah. It seems like it has to be. Leonardo back in this for reals now. And Christopher flops the flush draw. Checks back the flush draw. I kind of love that, I have to say. You don't see people do that enough.
It's a cheeky little play.
Indeed. Time to start betting, though. You only have 10 high. There it is. Whoa.
That's a bet.
What? Christopher is the I like big sizes guy. He always supersizes his fries. Like,
I mean,
wow.
It's too good of a deal not to supersize.
It is for real money, Brad Howard.
He knows that. He's trolling.
I know he knows that. I know. I'm just playing along.
You're a nice guy.
Well. Christopher is really... I'll give Christopher this. He's trying to win this tournament. He's not trying to just lay back and have something good happen. He's actively trying to win the tournament, which I think is really helpful and wins a lot of tournaments, with that philosophy. They don't supersize anymore, Malt Liquor Hall? That seems crazy.
We got too overweight as a country here in America.
Well, that's for sure.
There was political pressure.
Oh, James Bondarchuk asking the crypto-laden question, but is money real?
That's
I
more
think
of
I don't
a
care.
that's more of a PhD in philosophy type question.
But this has roots in crypto too, I think.
Meanwhile, we have a pot
Anyway.
developing.
Yeah, well, no one has anything, but we have a pot developing anyway. I think Leonardo's probably just going to have to give up and lose this one.
Well, he does have the best hand. He could win.
I can't imagine if he checks, Christopher's gonna.
He does not check.
Well, he bets again, and I guess he's gonna win this one. Fair enough. That 10 of hearts seems like a pretty bad card for Leonardo. But
Well, I think collective existential dread has been triggered in the chat. Everybody's questioning the nature of their reality, and they will soon reach the insanity phase.
it's about time,
Yeah,
quite frankly.
the poker guys have accomplished collective existential dread with the community. It's wonderful.
It's one of our, every night before I go to sleep, I write down my goals for the next day, and this was one of them. I mean, it's every day. That's one of my goals, in fairness, but See, James Bondarchuk gets it. I told you it was a crypto-related question. Flush draw for Christopher. Bottom pair. Bottom kicker for Leonardo. Why are we still here just to suffer? Oh, you guys are awesome.
We've got a nihilist chat happening. I'm into it.
Yeah. Christopher calls the raise. Doesn't put in a shove there. That's exciting. I know it's only Queen 6 suited, but still. Wow, and he calls again with that hand in that spot. Jeez, out of position. He picks up the gutter, and he's going to bluff this, and it's going to work, right? Like, how can you think you're good if you have an ace high here? What are you beating? It's hard to come up with anything you're beating.
Yeah, but Christopher's bluffy.
It's harder for Leonardo to know that, though. He just knows Christopher's been betting a lot. It's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible Christopher's had it, and you just can't tell. It's like way easier for us. Although he could be watching the stream and be seeing 30 minutes delayed, but he probably isn't. Because these guys, I imagine, are very focused on what they're doing. Well, here's an interesting spot, just in that Christopher has top pair, and you wouldn't expect him to.
I don't think it's going to matter this time.
Oh, look at that Turner doubler with the Big Lebowski reference. We're nihilists. We believe in nothing.
The limp with force. I think Leonardo's trying to get the limp shove in, but somehow Christopher checks it back in. We have a set against the gut shot. A 10 would almost certainly be the end of this tournament.
A non-pairing 10 will do it.
It is a queen.
Well, a queen is going to... Christopher's probably going to pay off certainly at least one more street and maybe two.
Yep.
With this queen. I mean, another queen would be Ragnarok as well. Clearly no folding for Christopher here. 7 of clubs. Nobody loves that card, but shouldn't be too afraid of it if you got a set. I think you have to bet for value. You agree?
Yes. It's backdoor clubs, so it's a mandatory bet. And with the king of clubs, maybe you could convince yourself to either call or make a move, but it is a big bet.
Yeah. He just limped pre, so you can eliminate some aces, probably, and some sets, probably, like jacks and queens and aces, probably. That makes me want to call a little bit, I have to say. We block straights, we block flushes. Our hand is probably too good to turn into a bluff.
You could turn it into a bluff, though, in case of... Wow, he makes the fold. Nice discipline.
This is a guy who called
with...
He called with jack high in a spot where he thought it was impossible to call with jack high incorrectly, but then folds there, which is... I think that's a tougher fold by a lot than the jack high spot.
For sure.
Interesting.
And we're back to about even stacks.
Yeah. And top pair now for Christopher. Apparently a limping strategy is now the thing.
Yep.
Because he just limped king, queen.
I retract my earlier quick heads up prediction.
Yeah. Amazingly, even though both these guys have locked up $298,000, one of them is going to be very disappointed.
Yep.
In the near future, especially now that their stacks are even. Top pair again for Christopher on the turn.
Checks it again and gets what he wants.
Yep. Should just be a call here. He does, but kind of a nightmare river. Leonardo with deuce 6 off. If you're going to bluff, this is a pretty good time to do it.
Nope.
He doesn't try.
Expect a raise from Leonardo here. But we keep seeing this where people are not raising preflop now.
Yeah, even when they have good hands. Like we had the king queen against pocket fours, and that could have been an all-in, or if they had raised pre, then maybe they would have ended up all-in by the turn, potentially.
Leonardo just ends up folding the fours on the flop to the large bet. I think you can raise fours preflop there and, you know, maybe even get it in if you have to.
Leonardo deciding enough of this. I have the button. The button.
Ooh, well, this is why you don't do it, I guess, because Christopher always takes shots.
He had a king, and it was enough. Shards at 55. Why do you guys have no faith in Christopher Plummer? I thought he was wonderful in that role. But I think this... Oh, flush draw here for Christopher. It's not no faith. It's just Leonardo seems a little more restrained in good ways. Christopher seems to risk a few too many chips a little too often, and I think that may come back and bite him. We'll find out. It's a stochastic situation, though, you know? Like, we played this a million times. I'd really like Leonardo's chances. But I do give Christopher credit. He is going for it repeatedly.
He's got some moves, for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of his moves are all in. I mean, it hasn't been recently, but from 5-handed on down, he was shoving pretty large amounts.
Mm. Billy Jeans, thank you for not spoiling anything. We definitely don't want any spoilers here.
Faith or reason discuss. I am not getting into that, James Bondarchuk. That's a little chum in the water. No chance I'm talking about that.
Okay, so Leonardo does call this one. Flops, interestingly, and gets the check. Christopher's probably checking just a fold here, right? Right?
I think.
Probably.
I mean,
what are you doing as Leonardo? Are you betting here, or are you just you're just taking your free?
It's weird.
Free
what do you think is happening?
Well,
now it's
look
easy.
At that. Now he welcomes aggression, all the aggression. Time to start betting. And it's the perfect card, of course, because Christopher made a pair. Isn't going to fold for one bet unless the bet is huge. We've seen Christopher call repeatedly in this spot. But he folds.
Wow. That's too bad for Leonardo.
I'm really surprised. Huh. Christopher's really changed his gear in terms of what he's decided to call with against Leonardo. He's believing Leonardo more.
Oh, I really wanted to weigh in on the faith or reason thing because of what Sharts asked, but I'm going to restrain myself.
All right, the commenters are going to do it all themselves. Don't worry about it.
Pair for Christopher.
2 pair and a gut shot. An 8 would be a big one, but we have to get there, and probably Christopher's not going to allow that to happen. Well, if he bets tiny... Nope, that's not tiny. Thanks for joining us, Billy Jean. Keep an eye out on our Twitter feed if you want to see what we're doing the next time we're doing this. I think next Wednesday, Grant. Is that right?
I think this is actually, that's a Wednesday that's nothing really too special is happening. Might be a PLO thing. Might be a PLO thing, which we are not qualified to commentate on.
No. We're barely qualified to commentate on this. It's such a good feeling to raise Jack Deuce off for 2.1x and just win, huh? That just feels amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And we can see Christopher has really reopened up that chip lead.
Aggression does tend to pay off in a lot of good ways, but it can blow up in your face, obviously.
We haven't seen anyone with a really monster hand since these guys got the heads up. Like no one with a big pair, no big aces. No one's had even like ace queen or
That's
ace jack.
true. Pre-flop hands have been pretty weak.
Yeah.
There is some more stabbing from Christopher.
Such a tough spot with this many blinds for Leonardo. Yeah, I can understand the fold. There we go. That's the best hand we've seen. Well, at least he's going to pick up a little extra chump.
Yeah, get a little 2.1 extra there.
There it is. I think Leonardo has to be careful that this doesn't turn into like a Gordon Vail situation.
Yeah.
Where he's trying so hard to like make a hand that he ends up losing a million small pots along the way.
Oh man, that was the most brutal thing to watch. I still remember the feeling of, I think we both were like, we just gave up before the match ended, didn't we? We were like, we can't finish this.
Yeah.
It was,
I think that's right.
Because it went on 3 a.m. Gordon Vail just folding like the second nuts on the turn, 3 hands in a row.
I think we actually made it to the very end, but we were about to bail. And then
yeah,
finally,
maybe so.
I think that's what happened. But ace 10, that's the best ace we've seen. And interestingly enough, Christopher elects to limp the ace. So he's limping his good hands. He's raising a lot of his bad hands right now.
That is the current trend, yeah.
Sharks 55, clearly a real fan because he said Veilbot. Veilbot 2.0.
It's been a while since we've talked about Veilbot.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't try and play so carefully when your head's up because you just don't make enough hands.
Need software upgrade. Must fold more. More folding.
So in the old days, Christopher was shoving this hand, but now he's just checking it. I don't know. It might have gotten through anyway. It probably gets through if he shoves.
Yeah, King 10 for 20 bigs just feels like too much.
Yeah, he has to be shoving a lot, like such a high frequency to make King 10 suited a call there. And Christopher was, but he stopped. So anyway, he flops top pair.
Checks it back. The ace isn't going to help his case if he wants to get paid.
Yeah. Well, time to go for value. Does not bet once with the king. I'm very confused by that never putting in any money.
That is
thing here.
That is surprising.
Yeah. Oh, Sharks 55 is hockey guy Patrick. I see. Congratulations, winning the Sport NATO NCAA bracket.
That does take a true fan to even enter that thing.
Indeed. Top here for Christopher. Reasonable sizing. It's good.
Leonardo could decide to float, I suppose.
Yeah. You'd like to have a backdoor flush draw along with it.
Yeah, you really would. James Bondarchuk asks if we think the GTO type players underrate Phil Hellmuth. I think people tend to universally apply what they see of him in cash games. Oh, this might be it. Let's
it's not. Here we go. Big spot right here.
Leonardo could double up, and it looks very likely that he's going to.
It is happening.
Yep. The king will chop it, but other than that.
The king pairing, yeah. And suddenly, after all this, Leonardo's waited and waited and waited, and finally has Christopher who wants him. The 2-1 chip lead is Leonardo's. How will Christopher respond now? It has. I do think GTO players underrate Phil Hellmuth. I absolutely do. But I also think Phil Hellmuth overrates Phil Hellmuth.
Oh, clearly that's true. But I think he is underrated by the majority of the poker community in his ability to navigate large MTTs with a lot of amateur players in it. He's really, really good at that. It has made him a lot of money over the years.
So Leonardo hits a dreamy card on the turn and Bottom pair just check folds. Christopher just doesn't think Leonardo's got bluffs in him, clearly.
That's pretty whack.
He's just stopped heroing in any way. Brian Thorpe says you used to be able to supersize. Uh-oh. Once again, 2-pair for Leonardo.
Ooh, this could be it if Christopher doesn't believe. Probably not it, but like a big one.
It's hard to get to it, yeah. But 2 streets. Could get turn and river calls. Got to call the turn. Of course, Christopher has some outs here.
Ooh, that
don't come in.
It's not a great card for Christopher.
Yeah, when Leonardo bets again, you're beating no value now. Leonardo's not betting a 7.
Might not have bet a 7 regardless.
Maybe. Now he's betting almost pot. I expect Christopher's going to find a fold. He's been folding in this spot repeatedly.
Seems like a fold.
Yeah. Brian Thorpe says, used to be able to supersize for 39 cents. Heck of a deal. It really is an amazing deal. And those extra fries, that bigger soda, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah,
this one.
Could have called that one.
Yeah, that was going to shove, you mean.
Yeah.
Not that Leonardo called, yeah.
No, yeah, good point. That sounds...
Just to be clear.
Yeah.
It feels like we're close to... If Leonardo can pick up a big pre-flop hand, Christopher's going to shove sometimes with a bad one, and like it could just be over in a blink, you know? That's like in play.
Oh, Leonardo's probably going to get shoved on here. No, just called.
Oh.
Interesting.
Surprising. With this many blinds and his willingness to shove, that's really surprising.
It is.
Well, Leonardo's got to be thrilled to be able to raise pre-flop successfully, get called, and c-bet and get a win. I can't remember the last time he's successfully done that. Maybe never a heads up.
Right.
Against Christopher. Good timing. He's over 40 million now.
And Christopher's on vapors. Not quite vapors, but probably feels like vapors because he just had the chip lead not so long ago.
Yeah.
He's flatting the Jack 5 off, too. I mean, the price is good, but stack to pot is problematic.
I agree. Like you can just wait for a better spot or play it more aggressively. Probably just wait for a better spot, though.
It's just so easy to play against his Leonardo. You get to have such easy decisions on the flop.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, this could be a call. Yes, it is.
Oh, he does call. Wow, I'm surprised.
And Christopher's going to need to get there, or else this is over.
All those shoves may come back and haunt him right now.
He's going to need an 8 or a 9 right now. And that's it.
Leonardo does the trick. I don't have to donate any money to anything or eat my words. $411,000. It's because it's $399 plus the WSOP Euro prize package. Huge win for Leonardo. Congratulations. Well deserved, I would say, as well.
Yes, congratulations to all the players involved. And thanks for watching, guys. We will be back with more of this coverage later in the series.
Yeah, thanks for all your comments. That was really fun to do this with you guys tonight.
Bye, guys.